while you're all waiting for the stream to start, please like and share it and do all that kind of stuff, please. We're trying to grow the community here. Please and thank you. Appreciate it. Get started in just a moment. Also, please vote in the poll. I'd love to know your thoughts if you believe ghosts are real. Enjoy the smooth stoner rock tones while we're getting started here. Today we'll be talking about Skinwalker Ranch. Today we will also be talking about ghosts. I hope you guys like ghosts and mysteries. All right. Thank you so much for waiting, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Please do me a favor and like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of shit. You know the drill. You know the frickin' drill, guys. You know it. You know it, and I show it. I don't know what that means. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Hi, I'm Goose. You can see that. You can see that this is me. What's up, guys? What's up? Hola. ¿Cómo estás? All right. Welcome to the stream. Today is Tuesday? I'm pretty sure. It's a lovely Tuesday. It's a little colder than it's supposed to be, which is good, you know? I mean, the weather has been... Goddamn. The weather has been pretty okay. It's been fluctuating back and forth. I don't know if any of you live in the PNW, but if you do, it's strange. It's strange up here. It felt like summer 2 days ago. It felt like deep summer, like 90 frickin' degrees summer. And today, for some reason, it's back in the 50s and 60s. I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to be happening. I think that it's, just a dynamic weather system that exists in the simulation that we all live in. All right? The Earth is flat. I don't know if you guys knew that. The moon is a hollow base, all right, used for military operations by NATO joint forces against interstellar enemies. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, okay? But also, pause for dramatic effect, but also, for some reason or another, Skinwalker Ranch is, again, in the modern zeitgeist. I think I had a book over here on this shelf somewhere. The lovely shelf of books. I used to have a book about Skinwalker Ranch. I cannot for the life of me find it. But it's the original one. It's the Curse of Skinwalker Ranch. The one that was like the initial one where people were really getting to learn about the whole situation. It was just after Bigelow had bought the place. But then they started coming out with these TV shows. They started coming out with these documentaries. They have spent the last 30 years bleeding this place dry. The original family left. They're the ones who had like a pseudonym that was used for them in the first like big book that came out about Skinwalker Ranch. And then they disappeared off the face of the earth. They did not want to be contacted anymore by anyone looking for ghosts and spooks and spirits and aliens and whatnot. So they disappeared. They became nameless and faceless, and their book hid their names. Eventually it came out that they were real people, obviously, and they were interviewed for their story for a bunch of documentaries, and history just kind of made 20 seasons and 20 years worth of content just on those things alone. There were accounts of like larger than life wolves who would try to run off with their baby cows and stuff, calves, if you're in the know. If you know something about terms that are used for things. But there are like giant wolves that would try to run off with calves. There are, tears in reality where orbs would come through and like mystify the viewers, like there's anomalies that exist environmentally, even like just basic environmental anomalies that like are crazy and just like not possible. Essentially, we think that they're not possible when we're looking at them from the outside. But I assure you that there's an unfortunate secret. Come with me, microphone. I'm afraid that there is a little bit of a spoiler about all this, in that it's a bit unsubstantiatable, and it's a little difficult to confirm whether or not any real paranormal activity ever actually took place on the ranch. I'm so sorry to spoil it in the first 10 minutes here, but that is kind of like, that's where we left things. That's where we had all been for the last, 10 years? I think the last big documentary came out in the early 2000s. Maybe 2010. Maybe the 2010s. But we're very firm into there hasn't been anything happening at Skinwalker Ranch, and there likely never was. It just happens to sit in a decent spot where it's like the mixture of a bunch of different environmental factors create these anomalies that exist, and a lot of them haven't really been substantiated in the first place, nor are they reproducible. So we're at a position here in the timeline of the Skinwalker Ranch saga, where I thought that everything had kind of been explored. I thought that it was done, I thought it was over with, and I thought that people were no longer talking about it anymore. Robert Bigelow, who bought the place, is a... What's up, Skippy? Aliens? They very well might be real. What was I talking about? Robert Bigelow. He's the founder of a aerospace company where they try to get defense contracts. And a lot of the reason why he did things like buying Skinwalker Ranch is to raise publicity. He wants to have as many eyes on Bigelow Air as possible so that he can get as juicy contracts as possible. And that kind of dried up a little bit, especially over the whole craze of Skinwalker Ranch. But the appeal to people in Congress and the House of Representatives to give contracts that way when they're doing their procurements and when they're doing all their allotments for the budget and things like that, Skinwalkers are real. Just look at J.D. Vance and Zuckerberg. Yeah, true. Zuckerberg, I think, would be a better candidate. J.D. Vance, I just think, is a spineless loser. But, the people that are most likely to fall for these things, because it's kind of hard to look at a situation like Skinwalker Ranch and not think to oneself, is this a scam? Especially after it's been so long, especially after there are so many millions of dollars that's been pumped into this situation, especially after, I think Ken Ham is his name? I don't remember the guy in Congress who was super into this bullshit, but he was the leader of the UAP disclosure hearing when Dave Gorsh and what's his name was there, Corbell was there, that guy with the glasses who was talking about the Nerf herders, the modern version of the Nerf herders, talking about the UAP footage. He was there too, and it was all this big kerfuffle. If you know anything about Dave Gorsh or the other guy, then you know that it's kind of take all that with a grain of salt, because it's all unsubstantiated. His account of what he was feeling when he was recording the footage, absolutely fine, I take that with 100%, veracity. I just think he kind of got swept up in Dave Gorsh and Corbell's stories and all these things. He's like, whoa, there's some big conspiracy? Okay, I got to tell my story. So it's more like he was fleeced into looking like a wackadoo, amongst other wackadoos. So long story short, I don't know why we're talking about Skinwalker Ranch again today. Well, no, I know why we're talking about it today. I don't know why we as a society are talking about it today. I feel like we've bled that place dry. I feel like we've moved on beyond the Dyatlov Pass incident. We've moved on beyond the Valley of the Headless Men. We've moved on beyond Skinwalker Ranch. I feel like we've done that with the Snake River conspiracies. We've moved so far beyond those things that I feel like it's weird to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch. But here we are. All right, everything else is taking a bit of a cyclical turn as far as the zeitgeist goes. Trends. Kids are wearing baggy pants again. Don't ask me to explain that one, but it's a thing. All right, I thought we got past that, but again, you gotta be whatever your parents are not, right? And I think the parents of the kids in this generation were the skinny jeans types. And then, it evolved into kids needing to wear fucking JNCOs again. And here we are. So, with that being said, that's the best lead-in I can think of. Kids are wearing baggy jeans again! I think that's the best lead-in that we ever could have thought to make in order to view this. So, here we are. This is a podcast. This is a podcast called Saucers and Saints. This was either recommended to me by somebody or I stumbled upon it when I was looking at something that was recommended to me by someone. But weirdly enough, the majority of my viewers happen to be Christian. I don't know why, as I often make anti-Christian content. It's a mystery that we may be trying to solve to the end of time. But for some reason or another, I tend to have a lot of Christians in my audience. And the thing that binds these Christians together is their belief in things that are paranormal adjacent or supernatural adjacent or whatever. You have to kind of believe in spirits in order to believe in the soul or Jesus or all the, whatever, the Holy Spirit, as a prime example. And so I don't know. I want to believe. Call me Mulder, because I want to believe. I think that it would be the coolest freaking thing in the world to be able to cast magic spells or to see ghosts, I don't know. It's not a mystery. Most people are Christian in the USA. Not most. About 65%, right? Plus, 62 to 66% of American adults, which is a very small percentage of the world. It is still the most popular religion, but it's very strange just to have, especially for someone who makes like Christian debunking content or looking up stuff at the Bible and being like, that doesn't make sense. It's weird that that's the majority, you know what I mean? But it's niche. I get it. Niche. I'll fill that niche if I have to. I'll bridge the gap if I can. But so this podcast, again, likely was recommended to me, likely by a Christian, so it's interesting to me to see these contrasting takes, especially as an atheist myself. Like, I don't get to see people just having casual conversations that are based on them having an upbringing of Christianity. So it's just cool to kind of see that flavor of social interaction. All right, so I am going to speed it up a little bit because it's an hour and a half. I don't want to just play it second for second.
I feel something, and I look down, and the sheets on my bed, it's like somebody's pulling them down, like two hands. Not like your blanket's falling off, but like pulling it all the way down. And I'm looking, and I'm, no. And I just start pulling it back up. I'm like, I can't acknowledge this. So I pull it back up, and this is like a big, heavy blanket. And it starts pulling down again, and I'm like, I cannot. And I just left the light on and just listened to an audiobook and just fell asleep with the lights on, which sounds very childish and very unscientific, but it's like, I'm alone in this building. I don't want to acknowledge this yet. I'm still figuring out what this wrench is. But it was like it was messing with me.
So clearly, we're starting big. We're starting right out the gate with something extraordinary, right? And as of yet, we haven't been able to prove that ghosts are real. Through all the television shows, through all of the accounts, through all of the And I find it extremely hard to believe that we have just found no solid evidence of ghosts with all of the people that always talk about ghosts. Like, there's always somebody who's coming out with some ghost story. Goose the Goose. What's up, Carlos? How's it going? There's always somebody that has a ghost story. Somebody that has some encounter with something paranormal. There's just too many accounts of something like that in order for me to personally think that it's all hogwash. But a lot of these things can be explained, especially by mass hysteria, panic, cycles of trauma. Even just your brain can make you think things that aren't real are there. And so, I don't know, I have to contend with all of that while hoping that there's, some evidence that may come to light someday of something supernatural outside of what we believe to be normal. The further, and I hate to just kind of put a damper on anyone who has any, like, paranormal theories or beliefs or anything like that, but the longer time goes on without any solid proof, the worse it's looking for those things being real, because the less likely that it is for you to find new evidence while old evidence degrades, the less likely it is for you to be able to prove that this thing truly exists. My fingers are still crossed. One day, maybe we might find that Earth is hollow. Maybe there is something beyond the ice wall. I'm all for it. I haven't seen any proof. I think it's scientifically implausible. And I think there are plenty of experts out there who would say that it's just not plausible. So, I don't know. Hi, my name is Avs, but you can call me Rusty. You don't have to say that. You can just introduce yourself as Rusty. If you want, because it's my comfort character's name, no need to even elaborate. If it makes you feel comfortable introducing yourself as Rusty, just do so. What's your name and how are you? My name is TJ, but you can call me Goose. I'm good. Just talking about some UFOs. I'm sorry, I'm pointing... That actually wasn't the direction of any of the screens that I was referencing. They're right here and up here. So, I don't know where I was pointing. But it was somewhere. Alright? At least we know I was pointing to somewhere. That's what's really important. Okay? Always have a reason for things. Even if it's made up. Alright, so let's get into this.
That can't be aircraft. There actually is a large unidentified object circling the Earth at incredible speed.
Now, so far, what I've heard from this channel has been good. Like, it hasn't been something that I vehemently disagree with. I love hearing conspiracy theory stuff. If you guys hear anything like overtly racist or otherist or whatever, like bigoted, anything like that, please let me know. But so far, I haven't heard anything, so I can still recommend this channel. Saucers and Saints, take a look at them. They're only 10.3k subscribers, so, I mean, I have way less, but they're still a small creator, and it never hurts to support them too. Nice name. Also, I love your room. Thank you. That is mostly VHS with some action figures. It's mostly horror and 80s action thriller. It's typically the flavors of the genres I tend to frequent. I do one day hope to do a tour of a lot of these. My wife and I are currently working on a video series where we review just selected titles, and I have themes of the videos that I'm going to do, and she has themes of the videos she's going to do. We do a little bit of different content. I think it's going to be fun. Gosh darn it. So like and subscribe and all that stuff for that. Why don't you? Alright, I'm going to let this play. I've already heard all this, so I'm going to let it play. Please feel free to enjoy. I gotta grab some water. I'll be right back.
Actually, we're very curious about where it is you come from.
On Skinwalker Ranch, they have a lot of ologists, technologists, archaeologists, and today we're joined by their biologist, Ben Woodruff. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. I almost want to use the line, what's a nice biologist like you doing in a place like that?
I mean, to be fair, I am a passionate seeker of truth of all kinds, and I've worked in paleontology, archaeology, biology, and geology. I just bounce because everything overlaps, and I want to know the answers. I want to know, what are the rules of the universe? How do things actually work? How do they function, from the microscopic all the way to the astronomical? And so I just bounced around my whole life. But I've done raptor biology, my whole life as well. I've raised birds of prey, and so that keeps dragging me back to the biological sciences. So,
yeah, and you do have, and actually.
Also, guys, if this is your first time viewing the stream and you have not ever met me before, hello again, hi. I'm sure that I've said it already, but I'm Goose. Nice to meet ya. I hope you stick around. And if you do enjoy the content, I'm talking with my hands way too much right now. And if you do enjoy the content, then please stick around for as long as possible. If you can, just leave it muted in the background. I'm trying to build a community, and in order to do that, now I'm purposefully talking with my hands a lot. See, I don't know what to do with my hands. What do? Do I just put them like this? If you do like the stuff, leave it on the background, like it, share it, all that kind of stuff. I know everybody says that. I know that it's freaking corny to say that. I understand that. But it is that kind of thing where it's like, if I'm looking at somebody's stream and I like what they make, I may not like their video, I may not share it, and I may be thinking to myself, that's going to be the next person. Next person will do it. They've got enough support. It's totally fine. I have less than 500 subscribers, okay? So I can't really depend on that. So if you like the stuff, if you like me, if you like my presence in your life, please do your part and just like and subscribe and share all that kind of stuff. Like, actually share the video. That would be helpful. The most helpful. If you just share it. Share it to everyone who you think will listen. Including your parents and your best friend. And your lovers? I guess? Send this to your lovers. Send this stream to your lovers. I don't know why.
Actually, and we're going to get into all of this, man, because, like I said, this nice biologist is running across everything from mutilated cows.
Send a letter.
Bones from a potentially...
Send a letter to your lover. Do it! I don't know why it's a letter, but you should send one.
Extinct wolf, and on and on. Plus, there was some things Ben and I were going back and forth on the last few weeks. There were some things that Ben wasn't privy to talk about on the ranch that now he's got a green light to talk about. So we'll get...
Which also is just a very strange thing. Like, it's pretty common in these conspiracy circles to say, like, well, before this was classified information, so I was really not at liberty to discuss it. It's always like when you learn something new or when information changes, it's just an insecurity thing. They're just trying to save face. Like, either I'm protecting myself before somebody thinks, like, oh, well, this was already debunked. Or, you know, and they're like, oh, well, but now I can share more information about it. They're just trying to... Man, how do I describe this? It's a social phenomenon where if you're feeling ousted, if you're feeling like you don't fit in with a group, you're trying to, like, make little statements and put little facts in there that kind of fit into the slots in the group that you're trying to fill. It's a conscious thing, and it's an inauthentic thing, and so you probably shouldn't really try to do that. But in a professional setting, it's a thing that you do in order to save face, so that people don't think that you're less credible, even if you're making stuff up. It's so that people assume that you're more credible. So another very easy thing to do in this type of setting, this mockumentary. I say that in a scathing tone. I don't actually think that it is a mockumentary. But when these things happen, when these podcasts happen, they're talking about conspiracy theories and stuff like that, they bring people on who have this air of authority, who have, like, oh, well, I'm a doctor and I have 3 PhDs and I've, done the studies and stuff. I've read the studies and I've talked to the individuals who also are doctors and have PhDs. But the problem here is that those might be PhDs in, like, physical science, like phys ed, in medical recovery, trauma therapy, things like that have nothing to do with biology or nothing to do with aeronautics or nothing to do with physics. And then they come on these podcasts and they try to sound authoritative when they're giving what is, to my eye, really just their own personal interpretation of what's going on. And a lot of them might believe in ghosts, but the majority of them are really just trying to get FaceTime in front of a camera or in front of or on a video or in a short or something like that so they can just promote their own stuff. That's the majority of a lot of this, is really just people, like, passing each other around, passing the camera to each other and just saying, like, here you go, you say your part. Here you go, you say your part. All right, you get some money, now you're getting some money. You get to advertise, now you get to advertise, and you get to call out your channel. This is what people on YouTube should be fucking doing to each other. Smaller creators on YouTube should be going around and being like, hey, I like your video, I'm going to help promote you. Like, hey, you should come on to my stuff so I can help promote you. Stuff like that, because the conspiracy guys, they got this shit on lockdown. They are supportive to no end. If you ever go to, like, a flat earth conference, or if you ever go to, like, one of these, there are Skinwalker Ranch conventions, there are the alien conventions. I think one is called Alien Con. There are plenty of these things around, and they are frequented by people who all kind of know each other. The community is very small, and they support each other, man. Like, when they do merch, like, let's say there's a t-shirt guy, he'd be like, hey, podcast guy, do you need some t-shirts made? Like, I'll do them for free if you shout me out. Like, they're doing these barter systems, and like they're all very supportive of each other because the community is so small and insular. They kind of have to be. There's no reason not to be at that point.
Get into the weirdness of it all. But first, how do you get from a career in like raptor studies, biology, how do you get to Skinwalker Ranch?
So that happened. So when Brandon first purchased the ranch, there wasn't a show, and he had no intentions of there being a show. And he had like Tom and Candace living on the ranch, managing it, and had Eric, starting to do the work there. Brandon, from childhood, has been an enormous fan of the Hutchings Museum where I work.
If you don't recognize any of these names, that's cool. That's fine. But he's dropping all of the main names of the people involved in the show and the conspiracy stuff. But I don't know that he mentions Robert at any point. Robert Bigelow, the guy who had owned the ranch for the majority of the time, at least still owns it as far as I'm aware. But trying to promote this idea that there's something paranormal happening at Skinwalker Ranch so that he can get big government contracts for his aerospace stuff. I think he's trying to do defense stuff. I think that was like his whole thing, is he was trying to do defense contracting.
And he would come in and he was talking with us about it, and he's like...
But I think he strangely leaves him out of his accounts, which could just be because he never really interacted with him or never really heard about, anything that he was doing. But it is strange. The guy owns the place. So, I don't know. Maybe he's just really hands-off. But he was at the show, or on the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. He was in the show quite frequently. So, I don't know.
Like, hey, I purchased a ranch.
It's a little weird.
You want to come check it out? And so I started to go do biological surveys and getting specimens, and I started finding so many crazy things that nobody had. They started filming the show, and it's like I'm finding things that I was there whenever they weren't filming, and I started finding such crazy stuff. They're like, we got to put you on the show too because the stuff's too crazy. But nobody was looking at it. Everybody was looking at their very specific in-depth field that they work in, and I'm like, well, there's all these things, plants, animals, and insects, and microbes that it's like these are profound, and it's right in front of you. But if you don't know what to look for, you don't see it. It's just invisible to you. So that's what I got pulled in.
Yeah, so Brandon.
And it would also make it really hard for you to push back against someone who is telling you that they see something because you're not a specialist in that field. Do you see how like they're laying in the how did I get here? They lay out the foundation for them seeming more valid, for them seeming more legitimate. And it isn't, I don't think, a conscious ploy. I think it's just an insecurity thing. I'll let you know when I think if they're scamming, if at all. I don't think that the biologist guy who he's interviewing is really scamming anyone. I think he just truly believes that there's actual like paranormal shit happening. I think if there was any type of scam, it would be in them being so zealous over this that they are willing to push back against people who try to say that it's not real. And that's just like they're acting as like a sort of antibody to good faith pushback, which is it's a powerful, I guess it's a powerful propaganda tool to have someone on your side when they truly believe in whatever message it is that you're promoting, like the people that sided with Hitler in the World War II. That kind of stuff. Like they're essentially brainwashed. I mean, it doesn't take that much convincing to make someone who's afraid even more afraid. But it is nefarious all the same.
Through the relationship, Brandon loved the museum you worked at and invited you out to check it out. So what was the first indication when you went out there that there is some anomalous stuff going on? What tipped you off?
So the first two things, so when we were driving down the road to the ranch, I looked up, and just over the ranch, there were these clouds that had these weird pits, and I got pictures of it, I'll share with you, and just over the ranch. And this is a very...
So I really want to steelman the things that he's saying. So I'm going to try and interpret what I think that these are in real time and see if, maybe I can offer some sensical explanation. I am not a specialist. I don't know these things. I'm not an atmospheric meteorologist. I don't study this for a living. I just have seen a lot of stuff. I don't know. I've been a lot of places. But the pockmarks in the clouds seem, honestly, just to be an environmental anomaly. Like, I think the way that air works is not... Like, air is like a thing... It's like water, basically. It's like we're in a giant invisible ocean. And air flows similar to water. It has a lot to do with like wind currents and air pressure and heat. So it's pretty similar in nature to the way that water flows. And so like if you've ever seen these like really flat spots on the ocean, they're called like whales. They're called whale footprints, I'm pretty sure. And it's these little like blubs that's like just a flat plane that looks almost like a bubble that isn't like penetrating the surface, just like a bubble underneath the surface, but it's just like a flat area. It is simply like a water displacement thing where there's a patch of undisturbed ocean where something big is. It could be the corpse of an animal. It could be an animal itself. It could be a small like a rock that's floating underneath the surface. Like the ocean's full of shit. Like literal and figurative. And we just never see that stuff. And so the thing with the sky is we see it a lot more often, and we see when there's something weird happening with it. And so these are like whale footprints, essentially. If you have a rock feature where it is sitting up in the middle of a national park and there's some wind, like a breeze that flows by and kicks up against this like jutting rock structure, it could send the wind flow up a certain direction that like, you know, gets, maybe the air gets hotter. How's it going, XV? The air gets hotter as it goes up, or cooler as it goes up and starts penetrating the cloud because like it's like changing the pressure or something. Like there's just too many different things that it could be to say, well, I just have no idea how this is happening. It's not, it's like how people like, they think that cloudbusters work because they're just observing normal environmental phenomena happening to a naturally occurring thing like a cloud. That's all that's happening. We can't see the particles in the air. We can't see all this stuff churning and moving and dissipating and reforming. We can't see the changes in pressure. So these things look alien to us. They look weird. And the guy even says, well, I didn't go to school for meteorology. I'm like, well, that's why you don't know what they are. Like they're now, and you're just saying, well, I think it's really strange. It's very anomalous. And it's all because I'm at this place.
Common occurrence I've seen in subsequent years is just over the ranch near what we call the triangle. There's these weird pits and cloud formations.
Right, if you call it a triangle, then there's a conflux of unexplained phenomena that happens there more than likely. The Valley of the Headless Men is, I think, this is the Valley of the Headless Men in which this is located in. If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me. But like, if there's a place where for generations upon generations upon generations, people have been describing these weirdly, almost supernatural phenomena that are happening, perhaps it could just be that that's the nature of the place. Maybe there are just a mixture of chemicals in the air. Maybe there's a weird like off-gassing from a subthermal vent, or, you know, like there's just too many things that it could be that are all not supernatural. And like places like this have existed for eons, you know, like we have cenotes, or whatever the fuck they're called. We have like crater lakes that are purer than the purest alpine spring. So like, it's so weird to make the leap to something supernatural, which is, that's how some people get to God. Not trying to be religious.
Formations that, you know, I was going to be a meteorologist. That was actually the direction I went. I'm like, I don't know what's forming these. It doesn't make sense with the geography. But then at the front gate.
So he's alluding to the fact that he knows that geography can affect how airflow happens, but he didn't full on say, he's like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know enough about the geography. And let's carry on.
We're waiting for Candace to come down and let us in. And I look down on the ground, and there's a dead rabbit sitting right there. I thought, okay, that's interesting. I went out and took a picture of it.
And this is just the first very glaring instance where it feels like things that aren't made up are being told in a fashion that sensationalizes them, perhaps for the viewership of the people that they're addressing. Perhaps, maybe, it is.
No flies, no scavengers, no bloating. The art of decomposition is taphonomy, and there's no taphonomical decomposition going on internally or externally. Went back the next day, and the whole time I was there that week.
He's going to explain the process of what happens when a thing dies and how off gases happen, so I'm going to wait to debunk what he says until that.
nothing changed. And then finally, the day I left, when we went to the gate, it was gone. No tracks, and it was just sand all around it, and there were no tracks. So something should have messed with it.
And then we're gonna go back to bullet points, and I'm gonna just debunk the entire thing. See, I'm trying to really fulfill the expectations that were foisted upon me by Jeremy Hambley's fans. You didn't provide any arguments. I do. You just weren't listening. But we're making absolute sure that we cannot be held to account for any lack of information that follows any of these bullet points. So we're definitely going to go back through it.
The coyote, a raccoon, the microbes inside should have started to bloat. You know, when you die, then that gastrointestinal bacteria that is breaking down the food you eat, you're not putting new food in, so they start eating your stomach lining and off-gassing, and that's what bloating is. And it didn't happen. So it didn't stink. It was soft to the touch, and it stayed that way until it disappeared. I'm like, this is very strange, because whatever this is, it's impacting external scavengers from messing with.
First, I know you're a biologist, but I have to wonder, why are you walking up and touching random dead animals? I feel like there's an unhealthy fascination with dead animals that goes into this sort of taxonomical field of study that he's talking about. But you don't just go up and like poke things with a stick, you know? I feel like there's a bit more of a professional scientific process that takes place than seeing if the corpse that you're touching is firm or soft. Touching. The corpse that you're touching... Sorry, if it's an animal, it's a carcass. But you get what I'm saying. It feels creepy. This man has said a very creepy thing. There's a tick in the creepy column, when you should have no ticks by now. You should have no ticks in the creepy column. Alright?
With it, but something internal is also not at work. So that blew me
While he explains this, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off. If you are visiting this stream for the very first time, I turn the face cam off just so that I can smoketh of the Connie Boss. If you happen to do so as well, please feel free to join me. It is not a requirement, though. I'm going to let it play the whole time.
After that, right at the gate. I'm like, really? Right at the front gate?
Oh,
This is what you
sure.
got? It's crazy.
Well, I'll put this out there. I've talked to a few of
Cheers.
the colleagues
Smoke 'em if
that
you got 'em.
work with technology, or Chris in archaeology, Pete with technology, and both of them described a very similar entry point into the ranch. By that I mean first day experiences. But the first day experiences seem to match what they could relate to based on their field. Whether it's with Pete, his expensive drone on day one, and Pete was rolling his eyes when he came out there, like, this is. Pardon, he thought it was all bullshit. And he got out there the first day and he gets the drone up there, sees some kind of craft up there, and Eric's like, yeah. And then his drone dies. And he's like, this is going to be expensive when this thing crashes. But day one, and Chris touched on, and he kind of off camera told me about an experience, after he met Tom and Candace, that happened there. And then you're a biologist.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. If the president says it, you can probably say it. Referring to the word bullshit.
Day one. So let me get this straight. You see a dead rabbit at the gate, and it looks like it probably is just dead because it's fresh, no bloating, no flies, nothing. But it stays that way, that same condition, the whole week.
The whole week that we were there, no ants bothered it. There's ants everywhere on the ranch, big red fire ants. They left it alone, and no ravens, no crows, no magpies, no scavengers of any kind, no coyotes, no raccoons, nothing touched it. And when we physically touched it, it was still squishy. Rigor mortis never set in. It was still pliable. So we touched it, and it was like a fresh dead animal. It stayed that way, as though you were halting or
Jesus.
freezing the decomposition process, but almost in a time way. Because again, if you just say, okay, we're not going to let the internal bacteria doing anything, well, there's external bacteria everywhere, and the second your immune system is not fighting it back externally, I mean, our skin would just, you see what happens on dead animals on the outside of their skin. That's external bacteria. So internally and externally, nothing. And then the day we left, as we're going to the gate, it was gone, and there were no animal tracks.
Right, but you're forgetting like a lot of different environmental factors. So what about the Valley of the Headless Men? Seems like, especially like, imagine if you're out in the desert, right? If you're out in the desert, you enter a canyon, there's there's a bunch of like walls around you of sheer cliff faces, and it isn't very well trodden. I mean, at this point I guess it is, but what temperature do you think things get down to at night in that particular region? I would say pretty darn near freezing. And if you're a bug, or if you're a bacteria, are you going to inhabit the corpse of a freezing thing or a frozen thing? No, typically not. Not unless you are botulism, salmonella. Not unless you're one of the big ones, which freezing doesn't kill. But no, typically, if something is freezing and then spending the entire day defrosting, it's probably going to be supremely well preserved in the air. I mean, people die of exposure, right? Do you know what exposure is? It's when the environment essentially normalizes your body to it. And like that's through, you know, freezing you to death or making you fall asleep when it's raining out, like so that you end up like freezing to death. Like dying of exposure is just your body becomes one with the earth, essentially. So it just on its surface, I am really ready to assume right off the bat that the reason why it's not being picked at by scavengers or eaten by bacteria or bugs is because it's freezing every night, hiding its scent. It's then spending the majority of the day defrosting, keeping it out of the danger zone, which keeps food fresh. Gross. But there's just seem to be enough environmental factors that are present that would keep a corpse from decomposing properly. And I think for 4 to 6 days, I think he said, like, I think that's reasonable. I think that's probably at the tail end of what I would find feasible for decomp to be staved off. But you can keep it from happening just by freezing an animal. If you kill an animal and then you freeze it, it won't decomp. It'll get freezer burn. It'll degrade eventually from there. Like the cells are all still there's still, it's not absolute zero, so it's not just 100% frozen. There's still shit happening. But like the majority of that, you know, the whole entire structure of the thing isn't really going to break down. If you wait like 10 years and you were to defrost a dead frozen animal, it would basically fall apart in your hands. But not 1 or 2. So even just 6 days of, again, freezing temperatures. Let me see, what? I think it's in Utah. Okay, Utah. What is the nighttime temp average at Skinwalker Ranch? Fucking 0. 0. And does he say when he...
Biologist, day 1. So let me get this straight. You see a dead rabbit at the gate, and it looks like it probably is just dead because it's fresh, no bloating, no flies, nothing. But it stays that way, that same condition, the whole week?
The whole week that we were there, no ants bothered it. There's ants everywhere on the ranch. Big red fire ants. They left it alone, and no ravens, no crows, no magpies, no scavengers of any kind, no coyotes, no raccoons, nothing touched it. And when we physically touched it, it was still squishy. Rigor mortis never set in. It was still pliable. So we touched it, and it was like a fresh dead animal. It stayed that way, as though you were halting or freezing the decomposition process, but almost in a time way. Because again, if you just say, okay, we're not going to let the internal bacteria doing anything, well, there's external bacteria everywhere, and the second your immune system is not fighting it back externally, I mean, our skin would just, I mean, you see what happens on dead animals on the outside.
As long as it's not frozen. Yeah, as long as it's a habitable... So, microbes need heat, moisture, and oxygen. I mean, there's definitely some viruses and bacteria and things like that don't need that. Like botulism can exist in an airless environment. It can thrive in the canning process. So there's clearly some outliers, but in the majority of the time, living things, the microbes, the stuff that makes us sick, they need heat, moisture, and oxygen in order to propagate. And so, like, if something's frozen, pretty sure Society and I saw a skinwalker or a ghost while driving through the woods near Mount Hood like 4 years ago. See, now that's interesting. It was a half-naked dude on the right side of the road, but he looked weirdly transparent / glowing. It was probably some dude hitchhiking, but it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, hard to say he was a skinwalker. There was a story about a guy in a very similar fashion to what you're describing in Middle America around, I think, the 40s or 50s. And there was some phenomena that was happening with the moisture in the air that was causing, because he had like a disease or something, and it wasn't jaundice, but it was turning his skin like a greenish yellow, and it was either some supplement he was taking, like how people turn blue when they take silver nitrate, that kind of thing, but it was turning him like a bluish yellow, not necessarily transparent or translucent in any way, but like he would take walks. He was like a military guy or something like that. Or like he was working at he had accidents or something, and he had lost like the sight of his eye. He had I think he was in a fire. He just looked disfigured. And so, like, kind of like someone that you would be scared of if you saw walking around at night on the side of the road, you know? But, like, he would walk along the road, and over the years, he did this for, like, 20 years. Over the years, he became an urban legend. People used to, like, they called him that one guy. I can't remember his name. But they called him that guy, and they were like, oh, you better watch out for this guy. He's like a ghost that goes down this one road every night. And people would actively avoid him. Like, they would see him, they'd start screaming and, like, roll down the side of the road. And he eventually embraced it. And he was like, you know, I enjoy what's happening right now. And then he got attacked, and that's sad. But when he recovered, he started doing it again, and he was way more careful about it. But eventually people started, like, giving him rides home and, like, bringing him, like, cake and casseroles and stuff. And, like, just because I guess he was in the news. This was, I think, still during the 70s. So there wasn't, like, internet. So he was not, like, a viral sensation or anything. But as viral as you can get just through TV or newspapers. But yeah, so as I was saying about Skinwalker Ranch, it is just still very hard to take someone seriously when they themselves know either that they're lying or that they... Honestly, I don't see how he doesn't know that he's lying. I just don't see that he doesn't know that he's lying. There's just too many environmental factors that can affect a carcass when it's left outside. And aside from the idea, like, the main ones I know are that if it was frozen, it really wouldn't be able to decomp. If it's frozen solid, like, if, say, this is even from anywhere from, like, September to frickin' June, it's gonna be freezing temperatures at night. And we're talking, like, sunrise at, like, 9, 10 o'clock because you're in a fucking valley. So, like, the sun rises way late, the sun sets way early, the temperature falls to damn near zero at any fucking month with an in its name, and so, like, a corpse can freeze almost entirely solid in the span of 6 to 8 hours, let alone 12, and it takes a long fucking time for frozen things to defrost. It doesn't just go from frozen to defrosted the second it goes on the fucking counter. Anyone who's defrosted anything knows this, but I think a lot of people forget. Like, they just don't register that time in between something being frozen and defrosted. It's a weird... I only know... Like, I measure time. Like, I have a really good internal timer. I usually know when something is defrosting for a certain amount of time. Like, I'm pretty decent when it comes to... I love this riff. Oh, so good. I love that shit. Cave-In is a good band for stoner rock riffs, if you enjoy that kind of stuff. Oh, and then this, like... Sorry. I know that this is bullshit mass-produced, like, possibly AI-generated, but... That's a good interlude. Crunchy. Gotta admit, it's very good. Anywho, it takes like 3 to 4 hours for something to defrost at room temperature when it's small. When it's even like a composite thing like ground beef or something like that, it doesn't take very long. But if we're talking about a full animal that had like guts and shit inside of it, literal shit even, I guess, makes sense, right? That it would take a long time. It would be very dense. It would take a long time to defrost. And it's hard for me to believe that a biologist wouldn't know something like that.
That's external bacteria. So internally and externally, nothing. And then the day we left, as we're going to the gate, it was gone. And there were no animal tracks near it. So it just disappeared.
It was almost like welcome to the ranch.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, surely a flying animal could not have taken it. Lord, no. Of course not.
And that's why, and Pete talked about, again, very similar. They talked about, both Pete, the technologist, and Chris, the archaeologist, touched on how the phenomena seem to interact with different people with different specialties in a different way. Mm-hmm. And they said,
so now we're talking about a piece of land interacting with somebody. It's weird. But an archaeologist? Why does... Maybe I don't understand fully what archaeologists do. Am I misunderstanding what an archaeologist's job is? My understanding is that they dig up and look for ancient things. So, like if you wanted something excavated, so that you could see if there's ancient First Nations pottery, because you're doing a study or something like that, you would contact an archaeologist. That's my understanding. Indiana Jones, but without the adventuring. Though he'd probably still punch Nazis. I think any reasonable person would. But point being, am I wrong? I think that's what an archaeologist does. It digs through old things to find old things. Digs through things to find old things. Why do you need one of those on Skinwalker Ranch? I get that there was Native Americans there, but I don't know what more can be excavated in this era that we're in that hasn't already been dug up by the last 30 years worth of people who have tried to find something supernatural about Skinwalker Ranch, other than conjecture and hearsay. Huh? What do you got to say about that, Mr. Podcast Host?
What you're seeing on the show is 1/10, if even that, of everybody's got a story. And there's a lot of people that come and go from there, and most everyone has a story. So now, what year was that happened when you came on initially?
See, all these people having stories is great for small towns where there's nothing to do, where all you have is just to tell stories. It's great. You'd be like, well, I heard one time that there was this glowing fella walking down the side of the road doing nothing but having a big smile on his toothless head. He seemed to be floating. Had to be a ghost. It's great. It's wholesome for something like that. An environment where you just kind of have to be making shit up. That's great. That's fine. That's how you pass the time. That's how you don't put a shotgun in your mouth. I think that's a good way to handle boredom. But I don't think it's an empirical approach to anything to just make stories up. But I guess some people disagree in these circles.
My brain says 2016 maybe. It was whenever Brandon first purchased the ranch.
My brain says feed me.
So I think it was. My brain says 2016 because
but not with brain food, with actual
UAP article came out. It was before that.
Delicious.
Yeah, and that was the New York Times article came out in 2017.
Okay, so I think it was 2016. I think it was the fall of 2016.
So, yeah, see, in my mind,
I got spaghetti on my mind, man.
With the recent seasons on TV, right?
But I've got stuff going back years and years before, and most of the stuff I documented isn't on the show, and it drove me crazy. Not because I don't care if I'm on the show. I want answers firsthand.
Right. Don't care if you're on the show. Sure. I'm gonna take that at face value, but something tells me you're a bit of a sensationalist, good sir.
I can get myself. I don't want an anecdotal answer. I want a first-hand answer. And so I'm like, this is stuff that
I can get that myself. I have an agent. And a manager. They're separate people, too. One is my mother.
I just need to know this stuff, so they're more brilliant than me. Let them... It's percolating in their head, and it's not getting out. So finally, I think last fall, I said, hey, Brandon, I'm doing a presentation.
Good burn. It's more prickly than their head.
I'm like, these things have not been in the show. I don't know if you guys are going to put it in. Can I please talk about these things publicly? And all but three of them, he said yes. So I'm like, yes, get the information out.
That's awesome. And I know you'd mentioned that when I approached you about this. You said it's good timing because you're able to talk about it. So, well, that changes things, doesn't it? We got 10 years of stuff. This will be a 4-hour podcast. Okay.
No, it's not. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, he scared me for a second. Oh. I was afraid this thing, I had read wrong, and this thing was actually 4 hours. I was going to say, nope, sorry, we're just not doing that today. Oh, no, sir. No, sorry, Bob.
2016, then, in my mind, is when your entry point is to Skinwalker Ranch, and you have the rabbit at the gate incident. So let's.
Oh, 2016. Okay. So this fuck it. It would really help to know what month.
Let's just kind of walk down the trail till 2026. So what's next?
So that same first week, we went over to Homestead 2, which is where, even from the Bigelow era, tons of stuff happens there. Tons of stuff has happened to me there that weekend since. But
Okay, so it's not Bigelow anymore. That's what I was wondering. So I think he apparently had sold it, I'm guessing, to whoever these guys are. Whoever, like, maybe the conspiracists, I don't know, like Redfern, or like whoever the fuck would be buying shit like that. But it apparently doesn't belong to Bigelow anymore.
there's that kind of, I don't know if it's like a well or something, and you can open it up and there's been radioactive elements going on, and sometimes it's flatline. Right next to that, 5 feet away from that well, there was a dead skunk. And it looked like a taxidermy specimen. It looked cute. It was that like little face in there. When we poked it with a stick, it was still soft and pliable. And
can't you just connect those two? If there's fucking radioactive, if there's radiation poisoning happening, that would, I guess, maybe account for that? I'm not sure. Or like, if they're getting microwaved by whatever, like, mixture of fucking radiation or chemicals or whatever in the air or the water or the environment itself, or maybe it died. Maybe there was some poison on the grounds or something. I don't, there's so many different explanations than ghosts.
And we thought, okay, well, this is strange. I didn't think anything of it. The next time I went out, like 3 weeks later, it was still there, untouched. I'm like, okay, well, you should have microbes breaking this down. It was there for 3 years. 3 years. No decomposition whatsoever. And I kept bringing it up. I'm like, Eric, kind of like at least.
And if something's like poisoned, or if something has a certain disease, aren't there things like that would cause it to be unattractive to scavengers? And I don't know what the solution here would be in terms of like microbes or bacteria, but it really feels like 3 years is just, you're encountering different skunks, my dude. Like I feel like maybe like there's just pest animals that are, pest animals, but like I think for their camp, it makes me feel like maybe there are like pest animals that are being drawn to some element of the camp itself. But the whole thing is like there are people who go around who clean these spaces, and they're not just going to leave a corpse. Like, they're not just going to leave a dead animal like sitting there, because these are like professional areas that are used for study and research. So like, if you see the same skunk there, maybe you just don't realize that there's somebody who comes and like cleans up after you, and it is just a bunch of like other dead animals that you think are the same animal every time. It could be maybe possible. I don't know. I'm trying to steelman this, as I said, to steelman his position, but I just don't. And I don't, and I just don't, and I don't.
Like, film a little blurb about this for our own records. So him and I filmed a little blurb, like, here's a skunk, look, we're gonna actually now contaminate the evidence, we're gonna flip it over, look at it, it's like, it's still intact, still normal, 3 years later. And then the very next day we went out, and it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. It was gone, and in its place was the hand and wrist of a perfectly decomposed, another animal, like something prairie dog sized, as if to say, you think I can't decompose?
This is what I'm saying, like, it's likely that you're just seeing the never-ending cycle of life and death that are happening in the desert every other night. Like, maybe you just take your dwelling for granted. You take your circumstances of living for granted, and you just don't know that there are people who go and clean up after you, and that there are just a lot of dead animals around there. Like, I don't feel like it's plausible to say that there was the same animal there for 3 years. How is this not the subject of more study? Are people actually trying to keep them quiet? I'm going to say no. Like, fuck no. I'm gonna say most people really don't give a shit what these guys are doing. They're on the like TV. Like, if there was some like government conspiracy cover up, don't you think they'd be like, scrambling the broadcast, or like pulling their strings in network television to get the show canceled? Like, this is not a fucking bastion of like unbiased media. It's like we have to suspend a little bit of disbelief here if we're to take any of this seriously.
Here you go. And a tuft of that fur was wedged under a little like split piece of wood on the ranch house there. And it was almost like it was messing with us. And nobody else had been on the ranch. I mean, it was me and a couple other people staying.
Oh my god. Like, I mean, A, there's no way that could have just been an animal passing by, but also B, there's no way that somebody could have just done that. Did you see it float the fuck up there and wedge itself in between those two pieces of wood? No. You're in a place where people are all the fucking time doing work, and you don't think that maybe someone might manufacture something like this? Maybe like behind the scenes, someone's like either fucking with you, or they're like, you know, we really gotta get this place back on the map. Well, let's prove some of the supernatural things that have been happening around here, okay? Yeah. You put a tuft of hair underneath that piece of wood, people will think it's haunted. Yeah. That's good. Do that.
Staying, so no.
Now let's take our shirts off. I mean,
We had gone over there in the middle of the night, and how would they know to do that? So it was 3 years the thing didn't decompose. And then when we document it, gone. That's impossible. That's stupid. That sounds crazy.
wrong.
I mean, but sharing it, I mean, we did film it. But if somebody doesn't believe it, that's fine. I am just...
No. You're still getting the money. See, the thing is, you sold out already. If you were credible and you were doing this not for the money, and you weren't getting money from any of these like appearances or any of the fucking talks that you do, then you would start from a place of credibility, and then you'd say, hey, listen, I'm not taking any money for this. Look at that. Hey, you know, I don't care if you don't believe me. I'm not taking any money from anyone, but you are now. And so now you have a lifestyle-dependent motive to lie to people. You can justify it then. If you say, like, well, this is how I feed my family, you can easily justify lying to people. And that's where you lose credibility with me, my friend. That's the breaking point.
just reporting back what happened. Take it as you will, but this is what happened.
Pete touched on a little bit about his white whale theory.
Yeah.
The ranch was, with GPS being all dependent upon time and time syncing, and somehow the ranch has the ability in areas to manipulate time. And everything you've said right now,
said nobody with any scientific background ever. Time distortion is not just a thing that happens. I mean, I don't think that it takes me to tell anybody that, but if we could manipulate time, wouldn't we be doing the fuck out of that? Like, it's not that we don't have the equipment to understand what he's talking about. It's that we do, and we haven't found anything. It's that we've done all the tests that you can to approximate whatever the fuck he's trying to claim is happening, and it doesn't produce the results that says it's real. I would love nothing more than to be able to believe wholeheartedly that a tear in space-time happened on one of the ridges and a weird fourth dimensional entity stepped out. I would love for that to happen. I would want to go and have that experience myself. I would want to go and reproduce that. But with bad faith things like this, it makes that kind of... There's no... It taints the whole thing. And most of it is just to get money, you know? Or notoriety in order to get money. But it's all money at the end. It's fear. I mean, it's fear of losing your status in life. It's fear of losing respect. But that all drives the sneakiness.
is almost like with these specimens you're finding, that somehow...
What's up, Sonny Jim? Well, here I am. Welcome to us both.
just around them, time kind of stands still until you make a decision to where you leave or you film it, and then it says, okay, now I'll show you that you're not completely nuts, and it does something like that. So was that the same year, or was that like the next year?
Yeah. So when it disappeared on us and had the stuff left over, that was 3 years later.
Okay.
So a lot of other stuff happened, before that. But finally, I'm like, it's still there. It's still there. Every time I check, it's still there. Nothing's moving it. Nothing's decomposing it. And this is under a bunch of deciduous trees. And every year those trees fall, the leaves begin to rot, and then again those microbes break things down. They make things moist, and there's no reason this thing should not have been breaking down. Even with...
He's just adding qualifiers to it. Like, is he Is he like going through his own statements and like debunking them in real time? Or hope you're doing well as well. Like what I'm wondering what's triggering these little like self-defense like statements that he's making. And they were under deciduous trees, you know, and they weren't even being affected by external bacteria, like when someone would raise the internal bacteria issue. And then it's like when someone raises the weather issue, they're like, oh well no, it was under trees. In the motherfucker, where? Did you grow a forest there in the time you were there? Because from what I'm aware, there's very few trees on that property. Give me the map. Give me the map. I want to see the map. My vertical stream has ended. What? No, it's still going. Still going for me. Like, as in I'm watching it right now. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Skippy. Oh, Skippy! Oh, Skippy, Skippy! Skippy, Pippy. Hang on, I'm bringing up a map. I'm bringing up a goddamn map! Where? Come on, give me the map. You son of a... You son of a pickle. Well, here it is. Here's the... Like... Yes, of course there are trees, but is it under... Like, is it under one of the 20 trees that are on that entire property? Like, it said where the well was, but I can't... I was trying to click on it to zoom in. Maps? Map. Do you like my remix, guys? Do you like my remix? I think it's pretty good. No! What happened? Son of a... Son of a... Bring me back. Okay. So you see what I'm getting at here? Like there's just not a lot of trees. And those aren't like these aren't trees. Like these are I really wish I could. Can I make this 3D? How do I 3D this? I want to 3D this. Make this 3D. Anywho, the point that I'm trying to get at here is that there's just so precious few trees that it feels implausible that you'd be able to say, oh, well, this was under a deciduous tree. There was totally things that were, you know, in the area, I assure you.
Plant-based microbes, you know, forget regular mammalian decomposers. I mean, there's just the normal stuff on the ground, you know, where dead leaves turn to soil. That's what should have happened.
I think we can almost break it down like this. Like, let's talk about, because you're a biologist, and it's presenting, phenomenon is presenting to you anomalous biological evidence. And then, I know personally, you've had some more of the Skinwalker paranormal experiences. So let's pivot. Let's talk about your paranormal experiences. And then we can jump back in on the biological ones that stand out to you. And of course, we don't all know, but you should know if you're watching this about the wolf, potential wolf.
Hang on. Let's put your speciality and your experience aside for a second, so that we can wildly speculate, and then save the actual science for you know, I guess at the end of the stream. Like, you know, I don't want to hear any of the science yet. Let's just wildly speculate for a while, okay?
The UFO above the cow and the cow dies, those type of things. I didn't realize you were with the cow and everything, that you were also working with the show at the time. So yeah, let's take us down the paranormal path.
I'm sorry,
we'll flip
what?
back to the biological path.
Okay, I think probably the first thing, my first night on the ranch. This is Eric was going on and off the ranch at the time, and then later on he was living there for years, full time. And so there used to be a spare room, and a bunch of people were staying in with my group were staying in Tom and Candace's place, and I was sleeping over in the spare room in the command center. And I had the lights on, and I'm like, this is weird. I've known about this place, since I was young. I heard the stories. I remember it being in the news in the '90s, and now I'm here on the ranch. I'm like, okay, this is kind of strange. And I have the lights on.
You lying bitch. Like, you've been fucking dreaming of this job. This was your fucking dream job. Look at your fucking necklace, dude. Like, you fucking wanted to work at the Skinwalker Ranch since you heard that news story in the 90s. You lying piece of shit. Like, come on, man.
I'm in the bedroom.
This actively discredits him on everything else. The fact that he's saying, oh, I remember seeing stories on this place in the 90s wearing a fucking beaver tooth necklace, whatever the fuck it is. What do you get when you cross a wiener dog and a pit bull? A wiener pit, your mom. Ooh, she's probably rolling over in her grave hearing that.
And it sounds hokey, but this is what happened. So I'm sitting there, lights on. There's no internet access, at least not then on the ranch of any kind. So I'm just like looking through photos I've taken of the day, looking at photos of the skunk and of the rabbit. And all of a sudden I feel something, and I look down.
You can't retract that. I saw it. Everyone saw it, Nicole. Everyone saw it.
And the sheets on my bed, it's like somebody's pulling them down, like 2 hands. Not like your blanket's falling off, but like pulling it all the way down. And I'm looking, and I'm, no. I just start pulling it back up. I'm like, I can't acknowledge this. So I pull it back up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on an audiobook.
Wait, so I think he said that this was his first night there.
But this is what happened. So I'm sitting there, lights on. There's no internet access, at least not then on the ranch at any kind. And the news, Eric.
And then we'll flip back to the biological path.
And then later on, he was living there for years, full time.
And I don't know if this is also like the same night that a cow died underneath a UFO. But I guess we'll find out if this is connected. I guess.
And so there used to be a spare room, and a bunch of people were staying in with my group were staying in Tom and Candace's place, and I was sleeping over in the spare room in the command center. And I had the lights on, and I'm like, this is weird. I've known about this place, since I was young. I heard the stories. I remember it being in the news in the 90s, and now I'm here on the ranch. I'm like, this is kind of strange.
You definitely.
And I have the lights on. I'm in the bedroom. And it sounds hokey, but this is what happened. So I'm sitting there, lights on. There's no internet access, at least not then on the ranch at any kind. So I'm
going to call bullshit on that. I would say that place has been fitted with fiber optics since the 90s. Like, there's just no way. Bigelow had a whole entire infrastructure there for studying the property, and it was well accessed to the internet. They had fucking live streams up until, I think, 2009. Well maintained. I don't know what this guy's fucking talking about.
I'm just like looking through photos I've taken of the day, looking at photos of the skunk and of the rabbit. And all of a sudden I feel something, and I look down, and the sheets on my bed, it's like somebody's pulling them down, like 2 hands. Not like your blanket.
So you're just sitting there looking at the photos of dead animals? Sitting up in your bed? Gross.
Blanket's falling off, but like pulling it all the way down. And I'm looking, and I'm...
The CIA owned it before the current owner. Really? It didn't go Bigelow, then current owner? The CIA owned it. That had to have been a procurement. That had to have been like, okay, well, you guys can have it, or no? Because they would have had to have been like, oh, maybe Bigelow, because he'd been trying to get the contracts for such a long time. Maybe he decided to sell it to the CIA? But they don't like buy meme properties, I don't know. It would be weird if that was true. Just from a logistics standpoint, just from a why on earth would they do that standpoint? And why meaning like it's just a stupid thing. It's buying the property means nothing if they can just spy on it.
No. I just start pulling it back up. I'm like, I can't acknowledge this. So I pull it back up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on an audiobook, start listening here. And I look down and it starts happening again. And these are like crummy sheets. It's not like these are slicky, silky sheets or anything. This is like a big, heavy blanket.
But this would be the thing that people like you are there to study. So it wouldn't make any sense for him to react in a way that makes it so that he's trying to ignore it. It would be something that you'd want to, like, get your phone out and like take a picture, like get, you know, whatever, like to record video or find some way to analyze and capture this phenomenon as it's happening instead of re-fucking telling it later, making it sound like you might have made it up, Mr. Mans.
Blanket, and it starts pulling down again, and I'm like, I cannot acknowledge this. So I just pulled it all up and wrapped it like in between my legs, so it was 100% on the bed and wrapped in my legs. So it's like you're pulling me off if you're pulling them off. And I just left the light on and just listened to an audiobook and just fell asleep with the lights on, which sounds very childish and very unscientific, but it's like I'm alone in this.
Yeah, and it sounds like you failed in your job. Your job was to bring transparency and external observation to these. And I mean your job as a team, not just your specific individual job. But like this is the kind of thing where you would have built yourself up to this, coming to this property, knowing that this kind of stuff may happen, may not happen. This kind of stuff, it just is there's a possibility that it might happen. So understand that you might encounter something supernatural. But that's why he was there. That's why I know this motherfucker is lying. He'd been dreaming of this since he was a fucking kid.
In this building, I don't want to acknowledge this yet. I'm still figuring out what this wrench is, but it was like it was messing with me.
I would have ran like a little bit.
And all you have to know, or all you have to do in order to know that I'm telling the truth, is look at his fucking necklace. All right? That's not a man who reluctantly accepted this position.
So
all right?
you don't sound childish at all. That blanket comes down 4 inches. I'm out, and I'm like, Eric, can I sleep with you? I did that.
Yeah.
Dude, that's wild. So did you? So what do you talk about the next day over breakfast? Like when that happens?
Well, I told him about it. You know, I wrote it down in my journal, and it's like, hey, you know, this is. You know,
You wrote it down in your fucking journal, you son of a bitch. You are a scientist witnessing a real-time supernatural phenomena in the age, this is 2016, in the age of the iPhone. And you can't record it? You can't snap a little photo? No? You can't even just accidentally put it on your face cam and be like, I'm recording this to save for posterity. And it's just your face the entire time, and you're just because you know, I mean, you don't look old. You probably weren't old back then. So I'm trying to steel man you here right now, but it really just sounds like you're lying. Just sit with that, sir.
but see, in the early days, you know, I mean, this again before the show, there was sort of the sense of what am I allowed to do, what am I not allowed to do? It's a privilege to be on the ranch. Now I'm constantly taking photos and videos.
Okay, so in this scenario here that you're talking about in your head, you're a scientist being hired to experiment and figure out and study the biological phenomena that's happening, knowing everything that you know about Skinwalker Ranch, knowing that other specialists are there who are filling their own niches, and you don't think that it's possible that one of them might be able to, or might be able to benefit from you in real time getting them into the fucking room so they can see this thing that they might be able to either explain or that they might be able to save for posterity. Maybe they could have thought themselves like, oh shit, I'm going to record this.
Every angle, everything, 3D stuff. But back then it was like, am I allowed to talk about this? Am I allowed to, to document any of this stuff, or or even share it? Is this taboo? I didn't, it wasn't really well spelled.
That was the goal. That's why you're there. That is why they hired you to be there in the first place, is to document these things. And it may not be your area of specialty, but that's still the goal of the entire team. So yes, why would you be confused about that? You would have signed a contract. You would have signed some kind of NDA or some shit too, probably. That would have outlined exactly what's going to get you in trouble and what's not. You just blindly sign NDAs? A man with that necklace has definitely signed some NDAs.
I was invited as a guest to come and, there was one time where we were, when they started to have cameras that people could do online a few years later, and one of our team, we pull up, and Caleb and Bryant were there, and they had guns out, and we're out there, and we were catching butterflies. We were doing a biological survey through the grass, just running with nets, and people online were like, oh, something big's going on. They're getting out the guns, and oh, what are they doing? Oh. And they're freaking out like it was something.
So you document your experiences here at the ranch in this hypothetical, but you didn't think to record the very specific supernatural phenomena that happened to you that you assume is a ghost. Let's just cut to the quick here. You assume it's a ghost. There's no other explanation. There's no other, like, oh yeah, it was some magnetic force that was... This is a conscious thing that was happening, and he hasn't said it yet, but he believes that there is a consciousness to the property. He believes the property has a consciousness.
Epic experiments, like, we're just doing a biological survey, so there's normal stuff that happens too,
Sean Ryan did an interview with the current owner who claimed it was owned by the CIA in the past. That sounds like flavor text, man. Like, I just don't feel like they would own it if they had a way to just observe what was going on, especially through Bigelow Air. He sucked the CIA's dick so hard all the damn time. CIA, FBI, all the alphabet agencies, ATF, OLCC. But he was so on their junk that he would have let them just come in and take whatever they wanted. He wanted their contract so bad. So, like, I just find it hard to believe that they would have bothered owning it. But, I mean, if they did, then they did. But that's stupid. Let's just be real dumb. Real stupid.
We got all those samples here at the museum still. But just the dead stuff. I hate saying it, but the ranch behaves as though it has a consciousness, awareness.
There you go.
Now, we have to use that because
an awareness. He believes that a piece of land is conscious. Let that sink in for a moment. He believes that a piece of land has an awareness.
If you go into genetics, we say things like, well, genes want this, or a genetic motivation is this. And as far as we know, genes are completely unaware.
Yeah, those are just figures of speech. My soul cries. I don't know that I have a soul, nor do I know that it can cry. The sky sings. Skies don't sing, motherfucker.
But they operate as if they are aware and have desires and motivations. And so we use that verbiage, and that's how the ranch is. Maybe the ranch really does. It sure seems to be aware and conscious.
Nope, you steamrolled over that.
Maybe it's not, and it just operates in a way that makes sense. I don't know, but it sure seems to be very aware and be one step ahead of anything you ever try to do.
I mean, yeah, if your confirmation bias is tingling every time something happens, then yeah. Trees are conscious. I don't think that I've heard that, Skippy. But even if that's true, that doesn't mean that the land itself is conscious. Are rocks conscious? No? Okay, then.
Man, it's wild. So, what else have you not talked about that maybe is on the paranormal side of things that you've experienced?
There's one I'll share. There's one that I...
What are you allowed to talk about now that you weren't allowed before? But you've been a fucking tree, Skippy?
I hesitate to share. Maybe I'll share that one. Maybe that one's okay.
Sure.
And again, I'm not asking anybody to believe. It's just...
Sure.
And see, I'm kind of sensitive about this. So 2 years ago, I had cardiac...
Okay, he's sensitive about it. He's about to describe that he had a heart attack. So be very supportive, guys, okay? Don't be too judgmental about this story he's about to make up, okay? Do not judge this man for this fake story about his heart attack, okay? That is ableist, and I will not take cyberbullying here in this my channel. I was cyberbullied within an inch of my life last night. This story that he's about to make up, the thing that's about to come out of left field, don't fucking judge this man. Don't do it.
Arrest. I died for 9 minutes, and literally, and so much so that I was so dead that I had 3 post-mortem strokes. Your blood starts to clot when you die, and they brought me back, and that's a whole separate story. But coming back from that and having to reframe reality, and this story I'm going to share happened before that happened. But now after the fact, like, I'm really kind of sensitive about talking about things that have to do with reality and warping reality. I realize that your mind.
Right. So the ranch caused his heart attack, so he's going to be very careful about the language that he uses so that the ranch doesn't retaliate against him again, okay? Because it bends and warps reality. He mentioned that so casually.
Can be warped, even just by your own biology. I mean, when I was in the hospital, I would just be looking at things, and it just looked like a bunch of weird random pixels, and then when my brain would register what it was, okay, you see it's a computer, a TV screen, or it's a device, but it was just in front of your face, totally invisible. So, this one night on the ranch, and I don't share this one much, and again, if you think I'm crazy, I don't care. Maybe I am, but this is what happened.
My friend stopped by on Sunday on his way back from Bigfoot hunting in Georgia. He thinks he caught one on thermal. He's convinced they can see him from red light. What, like a dog? You can't just... We keep attributing... It's like, okay, well, I've got a shield 9000. Okay, but I've got a shield 9001, and my shield reflects your shield. Okay, but my shield reflects the reflection of your shield, and it pokes you in the eye. My shield taps you in the balls, on top of all the other stuff that you just said. And it's locked, and you can't unlock it. Therefore, my shield lasts forever. Yeah, well, mine can collapse the entire universe. How's it going, Helmet?
Happen. So Tom Candace said, hey, we just read that we add this elevation.
I would assume that after a series of strokes and a massive heart attack that you probably wouldn't be seeing very straight or being able to perceive much around you. So things might look a little distorted and might take your brain a little bit to process whatever the fuck it is you're seeing. You're just describing normal recovery. That's all you're describing. You're not describing how reality is bending somehow around you now because you, worked on the ranch? Or what, because you're so fucking special because you dreamed about living at the goddamn ranch? The ranch healed him. That's not what he's describing. He said that the heart attack happened after the stuff with the ranch. More like the ranch dressing, am I right? Wow, wow, wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ding dong.
We might have fireflies. And I said, oh, that's cool. I've never seen fireflies. Have you ever seen them? No. Okay, well, I'm going to go out and see if I can see them. So I went out by the helicopter pad. I'm looking around like a dumb little kid. What am I looking for? Fireflies. And I get right up by the fence. And so I'm maybe...
You never seen them. You don't know what to look for. And so you're like, okay, what am I looking for? Maybe the ranch is nice if you are nice to the ranch. I'm going to say no. The ranch does not have a consciousness. Skinwalker Ranch is supposed to have skinwalkers. I don't think that there was ever a legitimate claim that there were any kind of skinwalkers. None of the people that lived there claimed that there were skinwalkers. Although the dad might have in the book, he might have said something about skinwalkers, but I don't think there's much. No, yeah, there's a whole thing about how, but that a lot of that was made up. But no, I don't think you're supposed to have any kind of like Yeti, Sam Squanches, or anything like that.
The fence for the helicopter pad. So it's like big bars. And I'm about 2 feet away from the fence. And all of a sudden, about 2 feet on the other side, I had the visual memory of two figures about my height. And it was like if you were standing next to somebody in a ghillie suit and suddenly realized it's a person, you're like, ah, right? I had that reaction. I was like, there's people there. And I started to back away. And as soon as I did that, I look over. Why would I look away? I look away and I see this blue, about the size of a marble, glowing blue light come out of the grass in the helicopter pad area where I am. And it starts moving towards me like Tron. These are very left angular movements moving towards me. And I'm like, I'm trying to get my phone out, trying to take a picture. And then it starts to go back in the exact same path that it did. And it disappears. And I was like, oh, that's strange. I'm going to go inside and see if they got it on the cameras. Well, after the fact,
This is like the guys who described the Philadelphia experiment, like where they talk about how like people were fused into the walls. They practice it so many times that it's just, it's like campfire stories kind of stuff, you know, like if you're telling a story for years and years and years, you know, at a campfire, then you're gonna get it down and you're gonna be like, you know, the master storyteller. But it doesn't give it any more credibility, man. You're talking about how like some fucking blue light troned at you while you were looking at some fucking gray alien bullshit like that. If like all of this was after your strokes, after your massive heart attack where you were dead for 9 minutes, I just feel like maybe you might have been seeing things. Maybe your brain juices weren't flowing the way that they should have because of your massive heart attack and strokes. Did anyone else ever corroborate any of these stories? He's mostly just saying what he experienced, so I don't know that. And maybe, you know, if we like this experience of going through this podcast, maybe we might go through the other episodes where he talks to the electrician and the security guard and shit like that. Perhaps that might be a thing. But holy shit, it's so incredible. You know, this story is so very incredible.
My visual memory of those people is like a translucent cardboard cutout. And so what I think, I've talked with Eric about this for hours, and what I think is that I did see something, and that they're like, well, you're not supposed to be seeing this, and that my mind was interrupted, kind of like a quick scan, and we're going to dangle keys in front of this. Come here, little kid, you wanted to see a firefly? We're going to give you a super quick rendition. Fireflies aren't blue. They're not round. They don't go in angular patterns, but it's like, quick, look over here, idiot. And then I went inside. Why wouldn't I stay over there and look? It's a really weird experience. And again, the people there, you know, some of the people saw me on some of the security cameras that weren't filming, and they saw me like backing away. But other than that, I don't have proof that it happened. But it's one of those things where...
Right. I mean, you should have just stopped it. I don't have proof that it happened. Sadly, we didn't catch it on any video. Therefore, you don't have to believe me. Wearing your Wrangler shirt.
At the time, I was more focused on the blue glowy thing. But now I think the blue glowy thing wasn't even there. And
why do you need to close those pockets? What are you keeping in there that might fall out? A notepad?
that those people or beings or whatever they were there, and that they interrupted and redirected. So you have visual information.
I thought he said
in,
beans.
It gets interrupted before the brain translates it. That's what I think happened, but that was weird.
No, we had a guy on the show last year that has a theory about the sphere network, right? And it's Patrick Jackson.
Oh,
and
for Christ's sake. Nobody, what? I don't know what that is. Nobody fucking knows what that is. You don't just throw out terms like that nobody knows what they are and then don't even bother explaining them. Like, oh, well, if you were cool, you'd know. If you were part of this community, you'd know. I fucking hate that Easter egg bullshit. Don't do that. Explain the goddamn sphere network, you piece of shit.
With paranormal things in houses and outside, that the sphere network, which on the ranch, we talked about the ranch when he was on. Like,
okay, my bad. It sounds like you're about to explain the sphere network.
You see these formations, and I don't know, it is what it is. His theory is his theory, but this ability of them to distract people either to or away from where they want your attention to either be focused on or diverted from, and in touch with maybe whatever your reference point is at the time, but in your case, if it's fire.
Is he a chud though? I don't think he's expressed any questionable things. I don't think he said any questionable things yet.
Flies, like, we'll create that'll get his attention, and other people, if they're in what they call a haunted house, will have a maybe a noise or an associated haunting type behavior, and we'll lead them downstairs instead because they're heading upstairs and we don't want them to go up there, and on and on. So
this is where in a lot of conspiracy and paranormal stuff, like you always see people trying to get to the end. They're trying to explain why the thing exists rather than determining whether the thing actually exists. That's what a lot of Christians do. You know, there's a lot of overlap between religious zealotry and the absolute necessity to apply faith to things. You don't need to take it on faith that a ghost exists. You can wait till there's proof. People claim that they're being affected by ghosts all the time, but I mean, I think a lot of times if you were to splash someone with water immediately when they were claiming to be possessed or something like that, they'd probably react. If they're claiming to be healed by something, then you could just follow them for a while and see that it was probably a lie or a shot of adrenaline or something. I don't know. You don't have to just take these things on faith.
That's just kind of what came to mind when you said the diversion of, I see these beings, now I'm being distracted, now they're all gone.
And it's easy. I think what the goal is to distract. Like, it's to distract from the discussion of whether or not that thing exists. When you get caught up in the, well, if it, I think if it was trying to distract us, it would probably make a ball of light rise from the grass and then move in an angular weird pattern. And the reason why it might be doing this angular pattern is that it's trying to reflect on something that maybe we might know. So it's possible they might be able to scan our memories or something. It's like you're getting all those details caught up before you go back to actually discussing whether or not the thing is real, so you just never end up discussing that.
Well, I have another one too at Homestead 3 that's worth sharing, and this is my first day actually. Well, and I'll share kind of another fun thing too.
So everything that happened to you happened on your first day? Plausible, I guess, in a storytelling sense.
So when we came on the ranch, the dog who lives there, William, he had been attacked.
Watch your language, sir.
And Tom and Candace, they were still getting to know me, but they were kind of a little sketchy about, like, not wanting to talk about what attacked it. And I'm like, was it like a dog? Was it a cow? What was it? They're like, it was got attacked. And their house was beautiful. They had decorated it. Was all hippy dippy, beautiful, retro, awesome. And when the sun set, they had all these prisms in the window, and they said, oh look, it's rainbow o'clock, but they had guns by all the doors. And it's like, why do I have guns by the door? And they're like, because this thing came in and we had to kind of shoot it back, and kind of were not telling me too much about it. But one of the local medicine men came while we were there, and William, the dog, had a cone on his head, and the medicine man did a blessing on him, and because he had stitches and stuff. So then all of us right after that went.
What? I'm guessing that so this is the wolf story that he's telling, but I'm guessing that the wolf is going to be the least weird part about this entire story. The dog was attacked by an animal that, so they're there again to research for paranormal shit. That is why they are there. That's why him and his team are there. He's the biologist, and then there's an electrician and a security guard and an archaeologist. Why that particular mixture of creative professions? I'm not sure. Maybe that's all they could get. But they're there to research for paranormal activity, for anything that's not, naturally occurring. And so it feels strange that the people who are there facilitating that would be redacting things from you. Especially if they're trying to prove that these things are real. It's like you're writing a novel in your head and you're trying to figure out these details in real time, but you're not a very good writer. And so when you're talking about this, you're writing yourself into corners, and then you're having to explain your way back out of it by using different logic. Like when you say that the skunk, the internal parasites and the internal bacteria didn't do anything to decompose the body. But any fuckhead could very easily go to Google and say, like, okay, what temperature does it get at night? How long did it take for something to defrost? And he's probably understanding that in real time, because I don't think he's stupid. I just think that he's probably a sensationalizing potential scam artist. But he's straight up lying on a podcast. So yeah, he's definitely a scammer. But you're there to do that stuff, and so it doesn't feel like someone would be trying to withhold information when they're the ones who are trying to get this stuff explained in the first place. So they wouldn't just play coy and be like, oh well, we can't really say what it is. It's a thing, it attacked the dog, and then I guess apply enough faith in something to then have a medicine man come and bless the dog. I hope you took it to a vet, is all I can say, but because that sounds like animal abuse.
Went all the way to Homestead 2 and then Homestead 3. And we're sitting there, and the medicine man, Tom Candace, a couple of people were over there by the homestead talking. I was maybe 20, 30 feet away, and I was looking out, and I started to hear
the shaman.
They were native, they kind of sounded like Utah Tech Ute, local tribe. And I speak some Cherokee, which is not a Utah tribe in any way, shape, or form. But I was hearing this, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to...
What? So I hear this thing that's like Ute, which is the local tribe, and I speak a little bit of Cherokee, but it's not Ute in any way, shape, or form. This is literally this guy saying, like, I'm 1/34th Cherokee on my mother's side, so I am technically Native American, okay? This is straight up this Irish ass motherfucker. Oh, I've got a bit of the Native American in me. Oh, I've got a little bit of the Native American. Oh, I'm a Native American. I'm a Native American. Top of the morning to you, Miss Squanto. Top of the morning to you. Oh, is that a pox blanket? Oh, I'll wrap myself up nice, I will.
So I started speaking.
Why did it turned into Welsh? Northern to some extent. Weird. Birmingham.
Cherokee back, and all of a sudden those voices they went quiet, and they started talking to each other like, is he hearing us? Where's that voice coming from? Like they couldn't see.
So I started talking Cherokee back to them, which he already said is in no way, shape, or form anything like Ute, and so it wouldn't sound any different to them than English or French or Mexican, which is different than Spanish. Don't fucking get me started on the difference between Castillo and Mexicano, all right? Don't you fucking get me started. But Like, it's a different language. And why would they be talking to each other? Do spirits often commune with each other? I don't think we've ever... I think people who describe spirits when they're, like, reliving things like a murder or something like that, maybe they interact with each other, but, like, we don't really see that happening in real time when it's not, like, a memory of something. And so he's talking about a voice that's happening all around him, and when he speaks, it stops, and then they talk amongst themselves. I don't think we've ever even had, like, a real account of something like that happen, like ghost responding in that way in this setting.
Me. And so I'm just staring, and Candace is like, Ben. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, we're so worried about you. I'm like, well, why? And apparently the week before, somebody had been standing in that exact spot and had been looking out that direction and had zoned out and went catatonic and had passed out, and they had to take him off the ranch to the hospital, make sure he was okay. So that's not what happened to me, but it was the same spot. So that was unusual.
And, like, drinking spirits is how you possess yourself. That sounds like a limerick, or not a limerick, like a quote, like a philosophical quote. It would be more convincing if every spirit ever encountered spoke Spanish. Or their respective languages, or were anything other than just, like, I don't know, the same fucking tropes. It's always, like, someone from some, like, the same era, like a Victorian era. What's up with that? Why aren't there any ghosts from, like, the 80s or 70s, you know? Like a hippie ghost. What's up with that? Why are there no caveman ghosts? They should be, like, abundant, you know? Oh, because they didn't have Jesus. When you watch ghost hunting shows, they are Germany and the ghosts are speaking English. Well, you know, ghosts, I think, once you die and ascend, then you learn every conceivable language. Instantly, just like the Matrix.
Usual. It was strange.
But so what he's saying is that somebody else the previous week had stood in the exact same spot that he's standing when he said he heard these voices who were reacting in real time to him, and they said that he entered a trance, and the guy the week before had gone catatonic and collapsed, and they had to bring him to the hospital. And but he was fine. Is it sounding plausible? I think this doesn't sound made up. Does it sound made up to you? Okay, mildly made up.
And I don't know what to make of that. But you'll hear voices on the ranch. You'll hear whispers. You'll hear talkings, and you'll see these quarter. You know, it's almost like those seeing eye. Remember those, like, in the 90s, those things where you may have make your eye see over and then it pops out. You know, those 3D things.
Yeah, 3D, like 3D glasses on watching a 3D movie.
Nope. Magic eye.
Kind of like that, yeah. So you'll be looking at something.
Magic eye.
And then it's like you'll see something from the peripheral vision, which is in the black and white spectrum over here, and then you look and you're not seeing it. Everybody, you talk to anybody who's been on the ranch and they've seen things walking or moving. Everybody's seen it. It's one of those nonchalant things. That and seeing UFOs.
But what is keeping this from being the next breaking story? If there's so much of this that we just take as an intrinsic thing to the property itself, oh well, everyone hears voices. Oh, everyone sees shit out of the corner of their eyes. It seems like the reason y'all are fucking there is to determine why, and to determine whether or not this is something that we can reproduce and test and study. And yet, we're either A, just hearing about these things, or B, hearing about things that we can't substantiate, because y'all didn't fucking decide to study any of it. Like, you experienced it, you went there for a fucking vacation, and you didn't come back with any kind of testable results. Even though you can describe pretty accurately, with some pretty good sense of recollection, how these things happen. Almost as if you're doing a book tour as a result. Almost as if you're trying to get onto fucking further television shows as a result. Almost as if you're, like, fucking sensationalizing and scamming yourself. It's that goddamn necklace, man.
It's nonchalant. It's like not even a big deal anymore. People are like, oh, there's one over there. Those things are not a big deal to people anymore. They've gotten used to it.
Then we would have swooped on that shit the fucking second it happened. That this would be like national news. It would be not a dead subject anymore. And like, what, did your NDA just came up? Like, what, the government contract was just lifted? Like, there's no more, like, censorship or government redactions or anything like that? Like, what was the policy that ended? Was it just a simple NDA? Was it just, I don't, there's no reason to hold shit like this private. There's no reason to do any of that. It really just serves to make things sound more clandestine and more like sneaky and scary and government conspiratorial. Orgies didn't ghostify their souls yet. Do primitive tribes have ghosts? Well, yeah, they don't have Jesus. They didn't find Jesus and they weren't baptized, so it's all going to be just purgatory.
Happens so frequently.
Yeah, everybody's just hoping to see something once.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there was one other thing at one of the homesteads. I think you were going to bring up.
Well, that was the one was the.
Yeah, everyone just kind of wants to see something, even just once. And you guys, apparently, since all of this happened on his first day, apparently he experienced shit the entire time he was there, or it just happened on the first day and then just never happened again. But like, either all you did was experience this all the first day, or you're making shit up. Because you had ample opportunity in the 3 weeks that you were there to get any, or no, week that you were there to get any solid proof of any of this, and you just chose not to. She just nah. Who needs it? Who needs it? Christ's sake.
The first one I brought up was the one where over by the helicopter pad. That was the biggie. That was the biggie. And I don't like sharing that one much because that's the one that I have the least amount of corroborative evidence of anybody else, other than the people who saw me on camera and the people who.
But it's all hearsay. Everything that you guys say is hearsay if you have zero proof to back it up. People's testimony is not proof. Like. That doesn't, they just don't count. Just because you're saying something happened doesn't mean it's true.
Saw my reaction when I came in and explained it, but it seems strange, but that's something that happened.
So, and what I try to put in perspective is the fact that after talking to a number of you guys, is that there's a year-round effort at the ranch. There's a lot of collaboration, and when it's time to film, and whether you have a crew of the drillers, you have the camera crew, you have your own crew, that what we see is an hour show. What you see is like us minute by minute, day by day, hour by hour, week by week. And when you say stuff like that, I would love to be a fly in the wall, like on, lunch break. Like, yeah, I saw what's your count today? I saw 2 shadow beings and I did see a craft today. What did you see? Well, I lifted up the well and I got burnt by radiation.
Yeah, gosh, if only there was just some video proof of any of that over the year-around operation that they conduct. At a place that's constantly got cameras running. If only there was some evidence of it in all those hours of footage that maybe is being, I don't know, covered up.
Must change. Like when you work with people, that's not a 9-to-5 job. Like that's the water cooler talk must just be mind blowing. And also does it really galvanize the relationships you have with people that you work with out there? Because you guys get to experience something that just nobody else gets to experience. I mean, has it changed your relationships and has it, I guess, deepened?
Yeah, I mean, that's how cults start.
Yeah,
with people you work with.
So it's kind of different with the crew versus anybody who's doing experimentation. So the film crew, they're actually incredible people. And with film crews of any kind, usually there's some people where there's some drama. Not this. Like all the people are tight. They're good. They've worked on Oak Island and different places. They're good people. They're cool. But most of them are not comfortable with it. They're like, we're having to work here, come here every day, occasionally be here at night. They're not comfortable with the reality of it. So they just kind of like to shoot the bull about it and joke around. If something really crazy happens, they just look at each other. It's like, hey, they're not denying it, but it's kind of uncomfortable. Those of us who are there doing experiments, like we're angry. We're like, we want to know what on earth is going on. This is challenging our areas of expertise. Where the film.
So it's just like a group of divorced dads who like gather around and go like, did you hear that? Yeah, let's go. And they're like running in their dungarees. They're like, let's go get this. Or not, they're not wearing dungarees. They're Wrangler shirts, I guess. They're wearing their wannabe Indiana Jones. It's like, how like you see a guy who would cosplay as Indiana Jones, but he's just like wearing the Netbeard national uniform, the national standardized uniform of the Netbeards. And he probably thinks he looks really badass because he's wearing like a Tommy Bahama shirt and like a really really well-made traditional fedora, which doesn't look like, it's not really an indie hat. It looks more like he's lounging on a Spanish villa drinking probably mint juleps anachronistically. But you catch my drift, you know. Shirt's untucked, but thinks he looks really professional. Yeah, that kind of, you know, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's probably the kind of thing.
Film crew, they're documenting. Where we're experimenting. So it's different. So, but yeah, we talk about things, and there'll be a few.
But like, it's just a group of these guys who are gathering around, like, telling campfire stories and bonding. And I guess getting paid for it.
The film crew, where they'll pull you aside and be like, "Hey, that's really," and they'll talk to you one-on-one. But the camaraderie they have as a film crew is like, "We've got work to do. We got to function, filming you guys doing your thing. So we've got to just be in the headspace of we're working. They don't have time to. But yeah, at night, you know, or just sitting around talking. Yeah, at lunch we've had some deep conversations, and the people there doing the experiments. Yes, we have.
Yeah, I mean, and that work usually consists of, or the work that the TV crew usually consists of is, hey, we want to make this look more spooky, so do this a certain way, make it inconclusive. You know, instead of saying no, there's no evidence, can you just make it really inconclusive, make it sound like a mystery?
Have the absolute deepest and most profound of conversations, and spiritual conversations, and scientific conversations, and yeah, and it has brought us very close together.
Nice. Well, let's do this.
Spiritual conversations.
Let's make a pivot. We'll pivot to the kind of meat and potatoes of the biological anomalies that we have seen on the show, but they're pretty dramatic. And so I'll let you start where you want to start with those.
I'll share one that I haven't shared anywhere else that I can remember, and they're never going to put it on the show. I know they won't. One of the ones I found was there's a plant called
Right. Of course. The story that I'll tell you, a really one that I personally remember, but you won't see it on the show because they are covering it up. I know I said that for every other substantiating reason why you couldn't see any proof of what I was saying, but it's a good excuse. They cover up a lot. They being the government, supposedly.
Desert trumpet plant. It grows in a mathematically perfect way, and I've even written out the formula for its growth patterns. Like if you were a computer coder, you could put it in and generate. And we found this one part of the ranch over the east field. Then it would grow. I don't know why he felt the need to add something for no reason. That didn't make any sense, but that's where we are. Grow, and then once it hits this level, I don't know if it's radiation can mutate DNA, but that third growth would just like this nasty, gnarly spiral that went everywhere. And all of them in the east field were that way. Next year, they weren't. So that may be nothing. We don't know what did it, but that's something worth mentioning because we never talk about it. Radiation doesn't make Blinky. Like, I don't know who needs to be told this, but radiation doesn't turn... Like, there are birth defects that can happen with excess doses of, like, certain types of radiation, but that's over, like, decades and decades and decades. Like, you would have to... I don't know. I don't think it's radiation necessarily. I think it's more like microwaves and, like, the way that environmental factors play a role in child development. Like, including chemicals in the water and, like, what you're putting in your own body and shit like that. It's not living near a nuclear plant that, or working in one that causes people to be born with, like, extra limbs. That's just not really a thing that happens. Your mom smoked and drank while you were cooking. Weird that you refer to it like cooking, but makes me feel like, you were standing in the kitchen next to your mom while she smoked and drank while you were making like pasta or something. And you're like, Mom, come on, get out of here with that smoke. Come on out of here, Mom. I can't cook. You know what I mean? That's what it makes me think of. The plants. The cow, that one, they said, hey, we had a cow die, and then come to find out, no, you had a UFO appear over the cow, and then the cow buckled and died. That's pretty bold, and I don't know why we're not talking about that more. I mean, in the daytime. Yeah, it's almost like there's no evidence that it ever happened, and people are scared to mention it for the fact that they may be fact-checked. On camera, a UFO appears over the cow, and the cow buckles and dies, and then they went and checked it out, and it did have some, radiation, and then it didn't later on in the day. But they had me come, I don't know, a few weeks, a month later, and it had decomposed, which I gotta pause. One of the things that I found, I want to know what the rules of the ranch are. We don't know. But one thing seems to be, if you're coyote to small, deer-sized or smaller, you don't decompose normal. If you're bigger than that, you follow the rules more so, like a cow and elk, then they will. So
yeah, see, another thing that he's doing to try and make it sound like what he's saying is true. Yeah, and it's so weird that they would, that the cows would decompose, because that's the actual proof that they have is just some cow mutilation, that pictures. And they're like, we know that that's absolutely true. But it's actually animals that are under that size that don't decompose. Could it be because big, squishier things are more difficult to freeze in the below freezing temperatures? Perhaps. Less dense, more fatty.
Started to decompose, and they're like, "Hey Ben, come give it a check out, give it a look over." And when I came, that's when I found the tooth marks through the rib that matched either a dire wolf or a jaguar, which they didn't mention. We filmed it, but they're like, "Let's go."
What? Okay. It's either a hippopotamus or a Tyrannosaurus Rex. What the fuck kind of biologist are you? Where's the archaeologist?
It was on the dire wolf part. But what they didn't show is that the tendons had contorted the entire skeleton in what we call in paleontology the dinosaur death pose. So mammals, when we die, we go into the fetal position. Our tendons pull us in, including a cow. But dinosaurs, they would spiral backwards. That's what this thing did. And I'll send you pictures over it. Like, and we filmed that, but they didn't put it in the episode. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This is not normal decomposition.
What? So the cow was just dead, like, because he said that they witnessed this happen, and at some point, like he said, the cow just buckled over and died. And this is the next picture that you see. This is just the next frame. It's like you're watching this in a slideshow. You're watching the UFO go over it and a beam shoot down. You watch the cow go wah, and then fall to the ground. And then this is the next picture. What happened in between all that? Of course this is not normal decomposition. The skin just blinked away. It became immediately transparent. And the bones became picked clean and somewhat sun-bleached. And it wouldn't just decompose in the same fucking position it died in. You goddamn knobhead. So as it's sitting there, bloating and unbloating, and then freezing and unfreezing, and going through rigor, and then going back out of rigor, being picked on by scavengers, being eaten alive by bacteria and things like that, it's not gonna like move around or be dragged around or be torn apart or anything like that. Just a thought.
This is not normal taphonomy. This is breaking the rules. What would do this? I don't even have a theory, but it breaks all the rules of decomposition on large mammals.
Oh, it breaks all the rules of decomposition on a large mammal? Oh. All right. I bet he's going to substantiate that somehow.
So, I'll send you pictures over. It's nutty. It looks tortured.
You know, and to the untrained eye, which, unless you're a biologist, we all are untrained in that area, we might not think anything of that.
No, you guys are banking on that, but people who don't believe this stupid bullshit probably don't know more about biology than that guy who's scamming people.
Dead cow, right? And clearly not know what to look for. But I do remember the tooth mark through the rib, right? And,
yeah.
And I think, and again, all I remember is that it was, dire wolf was the only thing they wanted to talk about. But you're saying that it also could potentially match a jaguar, which clearly Utah doesn't have jaguars, right?
Yeah, or it shouldn't, but now we've documented one on, so we can get to that in a bit. Okay. But so I measured the tooth size.
What? So Utah now has a jaguar problem, apparently.
And then I had a wolf tooth, I had a bunch of cavity teeth, I had a black bear tooth, and I took the next rib over. So here's the rib that has the bite. I took the next rib over as well. And I've got them both. And I took a drill press. I didn't turn it on. I just used it to to test how much pressure to go through. And every tooth would shatter going through it. I didn't have a jaguar tooth. I didn't have a dire wolf tooth, but every tooth would not bite through it.
Where are you getting all these teeth? Do people just send you teeth and you just use these in your experiments? I would assume not. I don't think that's a thing that people do, is just try to use an animal tooth to mimic a pattern of something, especially if you think it's a dire wolf. Why do you go immediately to dire wolf? Why is that the first thing you think of? You're a biologist, so you just know what animal bite patterns look like? I would assume that's a zoologist or a zoological biologist or some bullshit like that, you know? I don't know. Forensic dentologist? You'd have to, I don't know. But not just a biologist.
So as carnivores, Usually they eat something whole, but if you're getting to bone, you break off pieces and swallow it so you can get the calcium and the marrow out of it. You don't just bite through a bone. You don't puncture through it. You use these side teeth. You don't use the front teeth. And that was a canine tooth poking all the way through. So I said, hey, it fits size-wise. It doesn't mean that's what it is, but it fits either a dire wolf or a jaguar. And they weren't excited about the jaguar part. And it's like, well, we had jaguars here during the ice.
It fits either a gorilla or a blue whale. You're just throwing things out there, man.
Age. That's worth noting because there are claims that Ice Age animals appear on the ranch, and like dinosaur type things. When I first got on the ranch, they said, "Oh yeah, we don't like talking about it, but there's reports of a dino beaver, like this beaver that was just like massive." And I'm like, and the next time I came out, I brought this. I'm like, yeah, those are real. This is Castoroides. This is like a 250, 300 pound beaver from the Ice Age. It's a recent extinction. It's something that would have lived on the ranch, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 years ago. Obviously, they should be extinct. Nobody's seen one. But if you had a portal opening up, could you have something like that going through? People during the
like what is the orb system? And second, where are these portals coming from now? Like, you're just mentioning portals like they've always been there. Like we just know that there are portals opening up. And then offhandedly just mentioning that Ice Age animals are somehow a part of this now too. Like, what? Why are we going off on all this extra shit? Like, just tell me one of these things exists first. That you have like good evidence that one of these things exists first before you move on to the next thing. Well, if we have portals opening up, how did we know we have portals opening up? I want to see the portals. I want to know that the portals are opening up. You tell me the science behind that, Mr. Biologist. The fuck?
Sherman's, the Bigelow era, saw something like that. That's what they would describe it as, a dino beaver. Big old, huge, nasty teeth. I mean, you've got to be open to things. And if you find something that shouldn't be there, is it there because it's coming through a portal? Or is it just like the coelacanth fish? We thought it was extinct. Turns out it's not in this one region. So we have to open up that.
Right. And then when you're saying that.
No! Different things. This area's been very well observed and studied and mapped. We know a lot about the Utah Basin. We know a lot about the Valley of the Headless Men. We know a lot about that stuff. What we don't know about is the deep, dark corners of the fucking ocean. Can you see through the air? Yes.
It kind of harkens back to what Pete Kelsey and I were talking
Mr.
about.
Biologist?
Right? Like,
I'm not a
Travis in
meteorologist.
the portal, right?
I
Like if you're watching the show and you see him diagramming and the testing and even the imagery that's being created, it looks like a portal. And then you talk about Pete talking about the anomalous GPS and other technology that is picking up this anomalous behavior, and he kind of lends him to believe that time maybe can behave different in areas at the ranch, and you put time, manipulation, and portal together, and maybe you get dino beaver and dire wolf, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, and when I found on the ranch, all the scientists are starting to use religious terms. All the religious folk are starting to use scientific terms because none of us have the vocabulary. So we're using this kind of fits it. Portal. We all picture Rick and Morty, right? Portal opens up, you go through to another side. That is a visual that we understand, but just because we view it that way doesn't mean how it works. You could have portals that cross over in all different directions and materialize in different ways, and we just picture a circle opens up and something comes through. And apparently they filmed one during the Bigelow era. I don't know anybody we've had witnesses who shared that, but I don't think that footage is public anywhere, that a portal opened up this way and something came through and went out on the ranch. I have seen what could be called a portal. I've got a witness too. Charlie Larson and I were on the ranch, and we went out to do some astrophotography. And so we're between the Homestead 1 and Homestead 2. And we put our cameras out, we're taking pictures.
I couldn't find any portal pictures. But no, that's not a thing. Like, that was the, I think Rob Bigelow was there at the time. But he was describing how someone had footage of it. There was no actual footage of it. Like, nobody released any footage. Like, if this shit was real, don't you fucking think this would be the first goddamn motherfucking thing that people would be goddamn putting on the goddamn internet, goddamn it? But also, don't you think that, like, if there was some government cover-up, that, like, there'd be leakers by now? There were leakers for all the other classified shit. Like, the whole, like, Robert Snowden thing was about him leaking, like, all the shit, like, that was happening, like, in government secrets. Like, that's what was happening. That's what, like, somebody's gonna leak something when it comes to these big fucking there's no way that thousands of people can be complicit in the same lie. Compartmentalization does not work that way. It will not work beyond a certain point. You can keep a certain amount of people quiet, but eventually you're gonna have to start murdering. And a lot of people that work in the government are not mysteriously disappearing. Oh, they are, and that's a weird conspiracy. That's actually a conspiracy. That's weird. There are some pretty knowledgeable about government secrets people who are just disappearing off the face of the earth. There's a congressman who's missing. Or senator, I think. Like, it's pretty weird. And I mean, the answer to conspiracies like that are usually just enemy nations who might be trying to kidnap and steal state secrets from people. But the fact that that would be going on would be fucking scary. I honestly don't think that's what's happening, but it could be. It could be.
And also, and I said, Charlie, sometimes this ranch seems spooky and scary, and sometimes it just feels totally normal. Like there's just, like a normal ranch. And he's like, yeah, like right now, it just seems totally normal. And then as soon as we both said that, we heard a sound. It's like a cross between shooting a 22 bullet across the desert, that, and maybe the sound of if you're on a frozen lake and it's breaking, that was a combination of those sounds. And we look over, and about 8 feet high, about 20, 30 feet away, we see an expansion ring coming out. And it was not generating light, but the front edge of it was pushing so fast that it was compressing the water vapor. So you had like a white ring coming out, and you could see, and then in the center it was a little wobbly, a little like a shimmer, like kind of like on water, as it was coming out. And we're like, and we didn't see it open, but we heard the sound. We both looked over, and it was already maybe 10 feet open, and went out. And we're like, let's get back. So we're heading back, and the ranch house and the command center right next to each other. The command center.
Yeah, it's so strange that neither of you had a camera in 2016 on a film set. So strange that nobody had a camera during this. I'm starting to feel like this guy might be dishonest. Starting to feel like that's a possibility, Bums me out. Bums me the fudgeronies out.
Then the power went off. And then came back on, and Tom came out. He's like, "You guys okay?" We're like, "Yeah." Did your power just go out? He's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, it did at the command center." And he said, "That can't be the case. They're on the same breaker. If one goes off, they both go off." I'm like, "Well, we just saw the one go off, so So I don't know if that was a portal. I don't even know what a portal really is, but it looked like kind of a white and clear version of Rick and Morty horizontally.
Right. Yeah, it's so ridiculous that we think of Rick and Morty, but actually that's what it looks like.
So how far away, like when you're standing there and you make the comment, approximately how far away did this ring open up in front of you guys?
How far to it?
Yeah, like how far were you from it when it opened up?
30 feet.
So we're
about pretty close, and we hear it. We both look over, and when we looked over, it's 8 to 10 feet open already, and expanding outward horizontally, just above head height. Like I could have touched the top of it height wise, where it was coming out. I'm 6 something, and I could have touched the top of it, so it was expanding out just above our heads. But at our angle, it's like this is coming towards us, opening outward.
And so you just beat feet out of there when you saw it coming towards you.
Yeah. Well, first we're just kind of like, are we both? I think we're in shock for maybe 10 seconds.
Right, the kind of shit that you guys are specifically there to measure and study and observe. You didn't think to document at all. You just ran away from it. Okay.
And then I'm like, let's go back. He's like, yeah, let's go back. We had our camera gear and our tripod, so we're kind of like looking away, and it dissipated out. It wasn't. And again, this was not self-illuminating. Yeah. There were stars, and those stars were lighting up. It's like if you see videos when they have like those smart bombs that they like throw in a cave, and you'll see this white ring come out first, and then you see the fire and stuff come out after. It was like that. The extreme compression of energy was compressing water vapor. So
weird that he has an example lined up to describe how it looks. It's almost like he just made this up. And that's what he was picturing in his head. It's all so strange.
We saw a water vapor ring coming out, kind of like it didn't look like a cloud, but technically a cloud is compressed water vapor, right? Yeah. So dipping out, and then it started dissipating. When we were getting our stuff and we looked up, it was gone.
And so this was at nighttime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man. It reminds me of when didn't they do an experiment in the Mesa where they put, where the water disappeared?
Yeah, water and smoke.
And smoke, yeah, the smoke.
Going nowhere. Where's that going?
Yeah, like these pockets of whatever this is. Like you said, is it a portal? I'm not even sure how to define it. But these areas that can open up.
The Mesa?
Or draw things in or pull things out.
See, they just keep referencing shit that I don't fucking know. The Mesa? What the fuck is the Mesa? What is the Mesa? Government testing facility. I'm assuming it's a government testing facility. Hurricane Mesa Test Facility in Utah. Hurricane Mesa Test Facility is a private high-speed rocket sled track located in southwest Utah, owned and managed by Collins Aerospace and RTX Business. Mesa Complex, New Mexico. Micro Systems Engineering Science and Applications Complex. Like, none of this is especially damning. You know, I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Partners for components that cannot be manufactured in the private sector. Yeah, so when they need like microchips for spy technology, they contact Mesa Complex. But it's a company, Sandia National Laboratories, and then the Hurricane Mesa Test Facility is just a rocket car track. So I don't know exactly what they're saying is the Mesa. You know what I mean? Seems real strange.
And so,
well, and on that, if you go on Google Earth,
yeah,
and you can't get the best views, but backtrack, and you can see this on the show too if you watch. Anytime you see the Mesa is sinking in on that spot right where they're checking stuff out, right near the triangle. It is sinking in on itself. It's pulling in.
Okay, so let me ask you this: the imagery, I think, Chris, well, it brings it to attention on.
What the fuck is that supposed to be? How big is this spit of land? This looks like I'm looking at something very, I like close to the ground. Like this is just a shot of a pile of dirt. Like seriously, like this, you honestly think this gives any credibility to anything?
The show last season, and then Chris, the archaeologist, was talking about it. But there's those Google, it's almost not Google Earth, but aerial images over the years, and it looks like it's been photoshopped in the year that he found the coin, right? This same year, I think in '64, that if there was some massive excavation or they buried something there, that the coin was from that year, and there's a manipulation in the photos. But you're saying if you go on Google Earth now and backtrack it some years, that the Mesa is starting to come in on itself?
Yeah, and if you just watch the show, if anytime you look over that section of the Mesa near where they're doing the drilling, look there. It's a little to the west of where they're the west of where they're doing the drilling. But look, and you'll see, and it's like, oh my gosh, somebody.
But what does this have to do with anything?
Pointed out to me like my third year in, and I went back and looked at a photo from my first year. I'm like, oh geez, that's like 20 feet sunk in on the whole. And towards where they say something's buried in the Mesa.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering, because that's what came to mind is like, okay, if there's something buried in that Mesa and it's trying to retract because you're getting closer to it or drilling to it, and it's almost got that. I mean, look, there's ceramic that can disintegrate and regenerate. There's metals that can't be defined. There's, a coin that, as Chris put.
What? Hold on, what?
It's like, okay, if there's something buried in that Mesa and it's trying to retract because you're getting closer to it or drilling to it, and it's almost got that. I mean, look, there's ceramic that can disintegrate and
There's ceramic that can disintegrate
metals that
and regenerate. I haven't heard of that.
can't be
There's
defined. There's
metals that can't be defined. I haven't really heard of that either.
A coin that, as Chris put it, it's like doing a biopsy, and this massive, 100,000 pounds of rock. You shouldn't pull a coin out. But
no.
And there's a coin embedded in some rock. One of which, it could easily just be because that's how the rock formed around a coin. Like it tumbled and picked up sediment and maybe got buried in a river and got covered in like silt and dirt, and eventually it all accumulated, accumulated and dried, and eventually that coin would be a rock. It would then get, buried and compressed and into larger rocks, and there you go. Easy peasy explanation squeezy.
Presents to him as an archaeologist these things, and to you as a biologist, you've been presented these things. When did let's talk about the skull, the skeleton, and the potential dire wolf? Because I'll ask you this before you start that. The fragment that you have of that skull, that's not a panther though, right? Or a jaguar? That's not a jaguar.
No, that thing's its own thing. So, and I'll tell you after going about it. I mean, not after this, but after I talk about the dire wolf. Remind me, we can talk about jaguar evidence on the ranch and video footage that I'm like, I said to Brandon, I'm like, dude, like, should we put this? You guys want to put this in the show? You want to put this out there? And took forever to come back, and he's like, okay, this is good information. I'm like, well, can I share this because some of this information is public? And he's like, yeah, you're allowed to. I'm like, okay, Caleb brought some of that to our attention, but okay, the wolf.
Yeah, so like when they're deciding like how many things to sensationalize and try to make into a workable television show, then these guys who all share rights, issues over things, probably be like, so okay, we're gonna have to chop this up so that I can make my tour, I can make my publicity tour, and you can make your publicity tour. We're gonna have some exclusive things that we're gonna be able to share with people, so we keep them on the leash, ready for that, like either to see it in the show or to get ready for me to see me wherever I appear to talk or whatever. It's them just like carving up the empire, as it were. But again, this is something that you would be putting everywhere. Like every news agency would want the proof of this. So if you have video evidence, it would financially behoove you to produce it. You make a bajillion dollars by being the first person to discover something like that.
Thing. So they were doing experiments that I wasn't there that day, and they were doing experiments that had nothing to do with biology. They had a couple kayaks and they were walking through Dry Creek, which isn't dry, and it's 1,000,000 degrees. If you're going waders in that thing, it is a slog, and they were filming it. And they have these instruments up on these kayaks, and they were going along, and they found some dead canine, and it stunk so bad. They said it was wretched, which put in our rules. We seem to have the rules. Big animals don't decompose, small animals do. Well, this was in the water, so there's a new rule set. Animals, it was a small animal, but big or small, we don't know, but small animals in the water do follow decomposition rules, apparently. So that is a little thing to put in for any of you scientists watching out there.
See, he knows that there are scientists watching out there who are going to actively debunk whatever he's saying, because he's just making shit up as he goes. Like, he's not like this. I'm sure that he's got bullet points that he's trying to go over, that where he's like, this is the proof that we've been looking for this amount of time. Like, here are the stories that I can tell that provide the evidence for what I'm talking about. Like, it's just, that's a non-starter, man. Like, you've already lost me, I can tell you that much.
True, and add that into your bit of understanding. So it was so bad, but they're like, well, what is...
But then he's like, every time he says something that can be debunked, he's like, oh, but it seems like we have a new rule for how the house and the property all, like, bends reality around our understanding of current science. That's how I can explain this thing that totally doesn't make any sense. Yep.
It's probably some dog or something. It stinks so bad. We'd love to take it back, but let's just hack the jaw off and let's give it to Ben. You can take a look at it. And they sent me the video at the end of the day, and they're like, yeah, we found this. I'm like, oh, you gotta go back and get it. You gotta go back and get the rest of it. And so they went back, but I think it might have been a few weeks before they were able to get back out there. And the rest of the skull had washed away. They got as much of the skeleton as they could for me, which isn't much. It's ribs and part of the pelvis and a few leg bones. And they put it all in like quadruple bag and froze it and gave me this frozen block. And they're like, this reeks so bad, you take it home, you deal with it. But the jaw.
Right, totally talking like how scientists would. This is exactly how they would conduct their research, by being super grossed out by the thing that they're collecting. Like it's not something that they do on a regular basis. Sure, sure, absolutely.
When I cleaned it off, and I said, this thing, morphological, number of teeth and the size and the shape and the robust, prominent part of this where is a different species than a gray wolf, seems to look like a subadult dire wolf. I'm not saying it is, but it doesn't look like a gray wolf. It doesn't look like dog. I think this is worth checking into. And so they said, okay, well, let's, why don't you clean it and prep it, which I did. And
yeah, we're having, this happened with Caleb too. We're having little Skinwalker interruptions here, but you had just gotten the remains back and we're doing your analysis on the jawbone of the wolf.
Yeah. So I have domestic beetles that I keep, colony of domestic beetles.
Was that like a funny thing, that funny enough that you wanted to leave that part in? Like, if it was a technical difficulty, you just cut that. Like, what? Oh, it's a little quirk. Oh, yeah, we make little quirks. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
To properly prepare a specimen, so you
don't need to do that,
off or clean off or tear off any flesh that's still there with gloves, and then you let it dry out, air dry, and then you let domestic beetles eat it clean. They do an amazing job. It looks really clean, really nice. So I did that, and I had this jaw. I took it back to the ranch, and I had it in a little Tupperware thing, a little bin about this deep, and no lid, just a couple paper towels in the bottom. And I brought it, and I was showing some of the crew, and they said, well, hey, we're having lunch. Why don't you come on in? But leave that outside. So I left it on a table. When you walk the steps to get up to the trailer, the table was there, right next to all of us. In maybe 12 minutes, I eat, and I came back out, and the jaw has lacerations cut into it all around it. It was exactly where I left it. The jaw itself was in the same position, but it had these lacerations all through the bone itself. Now, some people said, well, maybe it was a rodent. Okay, if it was, then why isn't it all flipped over in a different position? But if it was teeth marks, rodents have double teeth, so you'd have these two, and it's not that way. They're just slashed all the way around it. I'm like, well, that's kind of ominous. What in 12 minutes out here, what people were going in and out past it, and it has all these lacerations. But we said, well, hey, let's do a test on the teeth. We probably have some good DNA in the teeth. And so I took the biggest tooth out, and I gave it to somebody. And then it disappeared.
So what you did
was like, cool.
You really wanted to try and sell this story, so you got whatever dire wolf jaw you could, and you're like, shit, I don't know, it's got all these like cuts on it. I guess we could just make that part of the story, right? And it's missing a tooth or two. Yeah, okay, I guess we could probably make that part of the story too. Yeah, we'll work it in. It looks like shit, but we'll make it work.
ooh, direwolf of Skinwalker Ranch, and run off with this. So I took the next biggest tooth. We sent it to Colossal Bioscience, and they're the ones who recently made direwolves and are trying to bring woolly mammoths back and dodos and all that.
Yeah.
So I sent it to them, and they did the test, and they are the premier genetics lab right now worldwide. And they need a lot of donors donating money to help fund these things they're doing. Kind of like Jurassic Park, right? It takes a lot of money to do that kind of stuff. So factor that in. So the results come back, and they
I think they stopped doing that. I don't know if anyone out there can confirm for me. I'm pretty sure that lab stopped trying to clone animals like that are extinct. I think they're like hitched up in the government right now. From what I remember, there's like some issue with like the ethics of it, and so they like the government's like trying to step in. But that's just based on maybe a year-old article that I barely remember reading, so I don't know if I have up-to-date information on that. But I think they stopped. They temporarily stopped doing those extinct animal cloning things for the time being.
He sent this pie chart, and basically it was like 89.9%. So basically 90% of it, we'll address in a second. 10% of it was wolf, gray wolf, specifically Eurasian gray wolf and Greenland gray wolf. Neither one of those are here. That alone, that should be a news story. Greenland gray wolf in Utah. Eurasian gray wolf, that's even more rare, in Utah. That alone is a huge story. And because it's trumped by the direwolf thing, nobody talks about that. I want answers to that. These are two species very far apart. And why is DNA from both of them in this?
Right, but we don't have any corroborating evidence that there was a wolf that had washed up anywhere, like in a creek bed, just during a random filming session. He even said that they were like doing some bullshit filming session when he like, I thought we were going to go study like stuff, like do science. And they were just running down a lake bed with, kayaks above their head with instruments on it. I assume for an action shot that the film crew just wanted to have. And that's fine describing that, but it's just some random occurrence because this place has a fucking consciousness, apparently. It threw a dead dog at your feet that happened to be a wolf pup that doesn't exist in that area. Just it's just, okay, here you go. I'm just going to pump an animal out at you randomly. I'm just going to fire it out of my ghostly butthole. And here you go. Here's a random extinct animal for you. Enjoy. It's definitely a desire to feel special. It's a desire to feel like, oh, I'm the only one in the world that ever has known or seen any of this. And it's like, it makes you feel special. It makes you feel like you're unique and that you have a real place in existence. But it sounds real dumb, man. It sounds real dumb. This all sounds real dumb.
But the other 90%, they said, is mystery wolf. Now they've got everything.
Mystery
wolf, dog breed, direwolves. They've got everything sequenced.
Mystery wolf.
Even like crazy things like the Papuan singing dog. I have no idea how they got DNA from that. I mean, those things are like super rare.
It didn't,
and it didn't match any of those. So the other 90% of this animal.
I know how, but we'll get to that. I'll pee and I'll be right back. yeah, 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 la 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 la. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. What? Did it stop again?
Is a wolf creature that doesn't exist anywhere in the known modern day. And so they said, and I think they did this to try to save face. They said, well, we can, whatever this was, it bred with a gray wolf. So we think we can safely couch this in as being a wolf. It's like, what, 90% of it?
Yeah, but the whole point of what I was saying before is that you bought a fake jaw, not fake, but you bought a jaw from a dire wolf that existed, at the time, and then you just threw it in. Or if I'm to steelman this, I can assume that maybe some prankster planted this evidence to try and make it seem like there was a discovery when truly there wasn't. Maybe they're fucking with this guy. Maybe they don't like this guy. I don't know. But the likelihood of it being a real dire wolf jawbone is just very, very low, especially when they said they had other evidence as scientists and didn't collect it.
You don't know what it is. Only 10% of it is gray wolf. 90% they put it on the table as mystery wolf. And Eric and I were like, well, let's call it crypto wolf. That'd be cool. So we don't know what it is. It is a wolf. It is a canine of some kind. Morphologically, it has the shape and the tooth number to match a dire wolf. They say it's not an actual dire wolf, but they also say they don't know what it is. 90% of it is something that doesn't exist anywhere on Earth. So that is actually more interesting than dire wolf. If you had dire wolf come through a portal, or dire wolf still existed out there.
You don't just say, oh, well, and then 90% of it was actually entirely eldritch abomination from a different dimension. But, but that really exciting thing is the part that I can somewhat scientifically substantiate. Now that's what's really cool about it. Don't check up on that.
It's a new discovery of something we thought was extinct. This is more interesting, saying this is a new wolf creature that we don't know of. That's insane. That's big. But again,
it is
the Eurasian
insane.
gray wolf and the Greenland gray wolf, that should be big news already. Just that alone.
Yeah, it's completely anomalous.
Mm-hmm.
And and what bothers me, or it's starting to bother me more as I talk to more of people that are specialists like you at the ranch, is their findings. And these aren't findings with Walmart grade experiments. These are findings. It's not like I used to do some paranormal stuff with guys. We did some Amazon movies. We didn't have great equipment, right?
Yeah,
You're ordering stuff online.
Amazon movies.
So take it for what it's worth. But the equipment and the expertise and the labs are using to test stuff is, just the equipment they bring out for a day's shoot is worth more than, a neighborhood's net worth in a day. And so it's not like you think the scientific community, or in your case, the biological science community, would take notice. And I wanted to ask you that. Do you get inquiries from peers about your findings?
I do. The nice thing, I think I have kind of some immunity that a lot of the other experts on the ranch don't, because I bounce from field to field to field, because I have ADHD. I want to know. I want to work over here. I'm going to be passionate about this. I'm going to run everything I can and work in this field. And so I don't care about my reputation. You want to besmirch me or say, you're foolish to say such a thing? Fine. I don't care. I want truth. I want to know the real answers. How does this universe work? What's really going on the ranch? I want to know. I don't care about my reputation. I don't care about that. I mean, and I'm good.
You said he jumps from field to field? He didn't say that he jumps from discipline to discipline or specialization to specialization. He's supposed to be a biologist. So does that mean that you're going from biology to forensic biology, or you're going from biology to genetic biology, or you're going into archaeological studies of biology, stuff like that? Or what is it? Or is it more I have a degree in gym studies, but I'm also a nutritionalist, and I'm also a biologist. It's something like that, and I also make cheese. Is that the reputation, the credentials that we're talking about, or because that's going to tell me how much to believe you.
A good person. I don't care about my reputation. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't care about it in academia. I couldn't care less. I want to know truth. That's what matters most to me. So I do get a lot of people, and people bring up incredible ideas for experiments, and they'll challenge some of my thoughts. I don't come up with a set hypothesis, but I want to know what the rules are. And I'll put it out there. Here's kind of what it looks like. And somebody will say, well, you're not thinking about this. What about this? I'm like, that is a very good point I hadn't thought about. Okay, I'm going to recalibrate my understanding. Being wrong is good in science, because then that means you get to come back in and you're just going to fine tune until you're right, until you find out what truth is. It doesn't matter who is right. It matters what.
That isn't really what happens with science. We kind of always assume that we don't know the specific 100% solid answer to something. And science is kind of one of those things where it's supposed to be going on all the time. We're not going to definitively figure anything out within a 0% margin. That's just not how things in the world work. There's always some non-zero chance that you could fall through the floor today because I don't know, some part of reality malfunctions. There's a non-zero chance that, a portal could open up and like we could step into a different dimension. Like there's just a non-zero chance. Like it's like sure that number can grow with our understanding of whatever it is we're trying to understand, but there's no absolute facts. That's why like flat earthers get all mad when people present things as theories. Like our understanding of things evolves over time, and the things that we know pretty concretely may change in the future. And that's the beauty of science, is that it's not something that's necessarily unchangeable, but it is based on solid, data points. Which, in my opinion, makes that a lot more exciting, because we can discover new shit about the universe that we can prove, rather than having to just keep faith in something. Well, pardon me for getting a little romantic about experiencing reality, but gosh darn it, that's how I feel.
What is right? And so a lot of people do reach out and share some incredible ideas. A lot of times we'll have done the experiments they suggest, and I'm like, it's just not on the show, but we've done it. It just didn't make for good TV.
Sure. No, I get, and that's a challenge. I understand that. So from the biology standpoint, you had the bunny at the gate.
Like, no, good sir. No, you cannot say shit like that. Because a cow getting zapped by a UFO, that should have been in the show. Any supernatural phenomena should have been in the show. All the shit that you said that happened to you that you didn't fucking record, and then all the shit that you said that you did record that they cut out of the show, should have been in the show. What the fuck do you think makes good television? What the ever-living fuck do you think makes decent television that people want to tune into every week? It's the fucking reveals. It's the proof that all that shit's real. That's what makes people want to fucking tune in. The suspense is one aspect of it, sure. But actually, like, fucking fulfilling that, it's not like a relationship on a will they, won't they. It's not that kind of trope that people say you should never fulfill. It's one of those things that you want to keep fucking delivering on. You dingus.
The findings of the
birds.
The birds. That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the birds.
So a lot of the birds, we had tons of birds. A lot of them we didn't film about because they were birds of prey. All native birds in the United States are protected.
We had so many birds. We had so many birds that it's impossible for anyone to believe that there was no paranormal activity happening, okay? What about the birds? You didn't even think about the birds. You bastard. You bitch. You didn't think about the birds? We had so many birds. So many birds. You didn't even think about the fucking birds? The birds will get you.
Protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty. A bird of prey has no extra protection. It's a common misconception. Now, bald and golden eagles have an additional set, but other than that, like a robin feather is protected as a red-tailed hawk feather. But people don't know that publicly. So we thought, is some jerk online gonna, some officer somewhere gonna be like, well, you're holding a screech owl and examining it, then technically it's in your possession. So we're gonna write you up a citation. I mean, that's no different for any other native bird. So
now he's like making up some rule as to why they couldn't publish study, or why they couldn't like show any kind of like study that they did on the so many birds theory, that like, we had so many different birds that it proves that there was supernatural shit happening, but we couldn't record any of it because then the government would come after us. Uncle Sam would slap the shackles right on my wrists. Am I right? Am I right, environmentalists? Because that shit gets enforced all the fucking time. Sure.
So there's a lot of birds of prey that have died on the ranch and had strange things about them. Again, not rotting, not decomposing. They stay floppy. We've documented it privately, but we didn't put it out there publicly.
Very scientific term there. They stay floppy.
We had I got a picture. I had to do an illustration because I got tired of trying to explain.
Dude, you motherfucker. Oh, I've got a picture. I keep having to do this illustration. Dude, get photo and video evidence.
This to people because it's really kind of tricky to explain. So there's a bird called an oriole. They brought it, and I'm like, I pick it up and it's floppy, but the legs, so there's skin and scales around the legs, the feet, they're completely intact, little dinosaur feet, and I'm like feeling it. I'm like, well, this is really weird. So I took a scalpel, cut open, and you would just have gaps with no bone or tendon. So here's my illustration. So on this, the blue is the gaps.
So this situation where he had ample opportunity to take pictures. This was in 2016. iPhones existed. He had a chance to take pictures of these supposed bone gaps, and he said that this happened a lot. He said that this was not the first time this had happened. So every time it happened, he had every opportunity to take lots of photos, take video evidence. iPhones existed. And so what he did was he drew a real bad rendition of fucking bird legs. Like, why don't the bird legs have any joints is what I'm wondering. Why are his bird legs so like just sort of straight, and like why do they just end in 3 points?
Gaps in between where there's just empty space, and the black is where there's tissue. Now, that's not perfect to scale, but it's to try to give you the idea.
Sure.
So they're just literally, tendon and bone, nothing. Tendon and bone, nothing.
There could have just been picture. There could have just been any fucking real photograph of this, because iPhones exist. He acts like this was like the 1700s when you had to do everything by fucking candlelight. That's not the case. This was 2016. This was after Bigelow owned the place.
That is impossible to just have it disappear. There is literally nothing that could do that. It was, the legs were intact. I had to cut it open. There is nothing at all that can do that. Your tendons run in certain ways. Things are intertwined. So it's like something magically from the inside went and just had gaps. I hope the thing wasn't alive when it happened, because I cannot imagine how much agony that would have caused. Another one they had was, they brought me Starling, and this thing was squishy, and it stayed squishy. And we tested it on the ranch, squishy, squishy, squishy. We brought it off the ranch. We filmed it in the museum like weeks later, a month later, it was still squishy. But the head looked like it had exploded from the inside out. Eric pointed out, we looked at it under microscopes, and he pointed out that, it looks like there was some sort of energetic expansion outward. Don't know what that would mean. So taking it off the ranch, the skull eventually did start to decompose. It started to smell. And I'll send you a picture of this too. I think I was going to send you some files, and I don't think I sent you this one. But I'll send you close-ups. The skull, all of a sudden, these little kind of metallic-looking bubbles started to form, and they're tiny.
Are they going to put? Like, he keeps putting the photos up, but is he going to put that photo up? I bet you he won't.
What is that? And I took tweezers.
Oh, there we go. Here it is. I mean, that looks like pellet.
No residue. Then another one started. I'm like, what? Pop. And these kept happening. And I'm like, I got to get a sample. And I was trying to get a sample. No luck. And so I got to get some pictures because nobody's going to believe me. So I got 2 or 3 photos of this. So this is when it did start to decompose off the ranch. And yeah, I got photos of it zoomed in. And
that is birdshot. That is a pellet. That is the photo of a pellet. Like, I don't doubt that that's a dead animal that he has a cross section thereof, but that's a pellet. And it looks like it was chipped by the saw or the knife that he was using to cut the bird in half. So it could either be birdshot, or it could be a simple like BB, ball bearing from somebody's BB gun, because kids are little bastards and will absolutely shoot at birds. My uncle used to tell me to shoot at birds. I refused, and I shot his glass door.
Pop, and these kept happening, and I'm like, I gotta get a sample. And I was trying to get a sample, no luck, and so I gotta get some pictures because nobody's gonna believe me. So I got 2 or 3 photos of this. So
yeah, no,
this
I
is when
know.
it did
I
start to
certainly
decompose
don't
off the
believe
ranch, and yeah, I got photos of it zoomed in, and it's like just these weird little metallic bubbles, and when they pop, no residue.
Weird metallic bubbles that pop with no residue, that look remarkably like pellets from a BB gun. Or even just a ball bearing shot from a wrist rocket. Kids are assholes. And in the desert, you ain't got shit to do. So my guess is perhaps one of those hippie people has a BB gun. Maybe one of the staff has a BB gun. Maybe one of the staff's kids has a BB gun. Maybe somebody has a slingshot or something that can fire ball bearings. Isn't that strange? It's weird how some of these things are explained when you just actually try to explain them instead of going like, well, if it was ghosts, it must have happened this way. Well, since it was aliens, it has to have happened this way. Well, since a portal opened up and some ancient animals came out of the portal, then it has to have happened this way. You don't make the thing up and then just base everything off of that. That's stupid. That's what stupid people do.
Another weird one, this one's more recent. I think this was last year. we filmed about this, but I don't think it's made it on the show. So I came in, and
Right,
the producer came
right.
out and we're saying hi, and all we looked
Do
at
you
it,
not
like,
see
there's
how-
these 2 dead quail.
Do you not see how incredibly stupid it sounds when you keep saying that these things didn't make it onto the show? The next thing, and I don't think this made it onto the show, but it was this thing that's totally outrageous that should have been on the show. What are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do with that? What are you trying to do when you do that? It's stupid, you know? Like, that's dumb. Anywho, if this is your first time joining the stream, welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're trying to grow a community, so if you could please like the stream at the very least. But if you like the content, subscribe. I would appreciate it. I know that a lot of people say that, and it's kind of like just what people hear at this point, and people like kind of move on. But you know, I've been trying to build a community, and people kind of think like, oh, you know, you're doing okay work, but the next person's gonna get you. And if the next person gets me, then that's cool, but that often doesn't happen. So I do depend on your support. And if you like the stuff, then, or if you just like my mug, not an actual, like, not like a coffee mug, but the word for face that people sometimes use. If you like that, then please feel free to share and like the stream and all that kind of stuff. And we do this most days, Monday through Thursday. Also, if it is your first time joining, then you probably don't know this, but I do engage in the smoking of the cannabis. So I'm going to turn the face cam off here in a second, but I will be back. I'm going to go ahead and let it play. But if you also smoketh of the cannabis, then please feel free to join me.
Out of the sky, just laying there in the parking lot. And both of them, as a male and female, both of them had their upper mandible bashed in. So, a bird beak. No, this is a condor. So this is big, but okay, so a bird beak opens and closes, right? The beak itself is connected to the skull. It's keratin that grows over.
Hold on. You're going too fast for me. You say that a bird beak opens and closes? This is some breaking through shit. This is some sensational shit we need the public to know. All right, I'm caught up.
But the skull, it's attached. It's keratin attached to bone. Okay. Well, both of these quail, this upper part was bashed in, but the lower part was still there. So it's like, here's the beak. Both of them were like, meh. Male and female, both. Lower mandible still sticking out, upper mandible bashed in. They were both laying there, floppy flop, just fine. And we're like, well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty common, a common thing. I don't remember. I know that there was like a phenomenon that causes that. Like, the same thing happens in like chickens. I think it's called like beak. Short beak disease or something like that. But that is a known phenomenon. It's not just like because the ranch is somehow conscious. It's not that it decided to make this bird have a short beak and stay floppy when dead. Werewolves or skinwalkers, aren't they kind of variations on the same thing? Isn't that kind of like the... But we don't know which would conceivably be real. So I think that you'd have to first establish which is more scientifically plausible. And I think werewolves, like the idea of lycanthropy, would be more plausible just in general. All right, I'm going in 3, 2, 1, please. Have a cheers and smoke if you got them. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, well, if Bobby says it, then it must be true. But in terms of a non-Cryptverse canon, one I think is based on a disease, the other is like a ritual, you know? You wake the Wendigo. You wake the Wendigo. You wake the Wendigo!
This is weird. It's I want to find dead stuff. I show up at the ranch. Blam. Here you go. Right where you pull up.
Yep, they all came from Lilith. I think. Except for the Leviathans, who, quote unquote, have kind of just always been there.
And stuff. We left them there all week. They were right next to a fire ant hill. I got videos of this even, because we're laughing about it. The ants wouldn't touch it. And they didn't dry out. This is like in July, I think. Super hot. They didn't, rigor mortis never set in. They never dried out. They stayed floppy. And I did finally see one ant crawled up to the eye. And when they're...
He finally mentioned the month. And I feel like that was purposeful. No, Eve. Okay, yeah. I was trying to remember which was the antagonist of that season where she made everyone kill each other in that diner. And then she was who played her? She was an actress in a bunch of different things. I remember her face. I recognize her face in my brain. I mean, I think everything in between, I don't know. I always consider those like in between seasons. I feel like it was the meat of the show was, including season 6, but like up until it got like way too above the God table. Like when they're like fighting God's sister, like that's just like, come on. Like you have to build up all season to something that is too much. The power scaling is just it's off the wall. Minus his very ending thing. If they only had 5 seasons. Yeah, I mean Kripke. I didn't know that Kripke had dipped after 5 seasons. I thought he was in it for way longer than that. But yeah, it turned into a like a weird power scaling fantasy thing, and that you have to go outside of the whole duality Abrahamic God thing, and I don't know. I kind of like the whole interplay between like the demons and angels and heaven and stuff like that. That was cool, but I don't know. It didn't
away really quick.
age with all the other TV that was around at the time either. Like they were moving way past Monster of the Week stuff, or it was like oversaturated. They had like The Order, and they had the ones for the kids like the Monster High and all that kind of stuff. Oh dear. Is this like an AI, Rusty? What's happening here? I'm guessing that you are trying to steal my identity or something? What's like, isn't that a thing? Where you're like trying to get streamers to say specific words so that you can like develop voice maps or something? Isn't that a thing? I think that's a thing somewhere in scamming. His original plan was to have Sam go into the pit with Michael and Lucifer, and that'd be the end of the show, and they'd have one scene a couple years later where Dean had a daughter named Samantha in the very last thing. Oh, yeah, okay. I do remember that. But that's such a, like... I don't know. I think that's kind of a crappy ending. I would have wanted to see more. And I think season 8 was probably my favorite one. Can't tell you what happens in it because I can't remember, but I think for some reason season 8 just pops into my head as being my favorite. And any of the episodes with Charlie, obviously, because Felicia Day is awesome. I mean, I think season 11 and stuff were quite good. Well, yeah, they did have a resurgence. After they, I guess they had negative fan reception to some of the crappier seasons.
They never touched other than that. So I just put them in the freezer. At the end of the week, I'm like, I gotta go. Let's take a look at these guys later. Just weird.
So the only decomposition you, I guess, saw was with the smaller animals. They didn't decompose when they're dead on the ranch. Only when you take them off the ranch do they start to decompose.
Yeah. Other than the wolf thing that was in the water.
Right.
Yeah. Little stuff doesn't decompose. Antelope, ground squirrels, turkeys, coyotes, raccoons, skunks. Uinta ground squirrels. Which is what they're called pockets around here. California ground squirrels, prairie dogs, black-tailed jackrabbit.
All the things that a person would be shooting BBs at. So are you sure that because he just described, like, this whole time, he's been describing things like the sound of a bullet cracking overhead, like the little wing of like a 22 rimfire, but it could easily have been, if it's 22 rimfire, like it could just have been a BB, you know, like if a high power enough gun, air rifle could potentially make an air crack like that. And then you find this fucking bird that has these little metal orbs in it that, according to you, pop and leave no residue. But the only thing that we see in the picture is something that looks strangely like a pellet from a fucking pellet gun that's been shot into a goddamn quail. And then, not to mention the fact that you keep finding dead small animals around the place that looks like they've been freshly killed. And you know that rigor mortis doesn't last for fucking ever, right? Like, it is entirely possible that someone was just shooting a BB gun at small animals and leaving them just around the not even purposefully leaving them around the property, just like shooting them in the air or shooting them where they lie or whatever. And yeah, that's monstrous, and like it's a shitty way to pass the time, just killing innocent animals, but like that, it can easily be that kind of thing. And that little fucking thing was a goddamn bird shot. It was like a little fucking pellet thing. He's describing somebody hunting for pheasants or something. You get that with any powerful air rifle, and if it's far enough away, most varmint rifles. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, and loading like a little like 3mm BB, you could do that with birdshot if you're shooting, you know, a big gun. Like, but I think it's just a BB gun. To be quite honest, TBQH. And it's either someone's kid, or it's somebody who maybe wants there to seem like there's supernatural phenomena. It's like, oh, we can't discover why all these small animals keep dying around the property. Motherfucker, just put those two things together. Oh, we keep hearing this thing that sounds like gunfire. Use your brain. You're a goddamn scientist.
Conto rabbit, all of them. Just sitting there.
So you found all of those. Everything you listed, you find dead on the ranch, and it doesn't decompose on the ranch.
But again, this is all assuming that this person is saying all these things in good faith, but they're not. Like, obviously, they're trying to like sell, you know, whatever, sell tickets to their next talk, TED talk, sell whatever like books they're writing, you know. That's all that stuff. God damn it! Why can't Bigfoot be real instead of people making him up to make money? Damn it!
Eyes, ravens, red-tailed hawk, great horned owl, one Swainson, first year Swainson's hawk, and they floppy. They stay floppy. They never stink. Nothing ever gets them. And
you think science would be like, this is one of the biggest stories ever. Like, let's convene on this spot and get you and walk us through it all, but they don't.
Yeah, you know, you would think that. You would think that. It's almost like that's what would really happen. It's almost like if you had any substantive proof, if you had anything, any kind of proof to these claims that you're making, that, yeah, scientists would probably converge on you. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. You'd be the talk of the town. You'd win the Nobel fucking Prize. You would be rich beyond your wildest dreams. You'd be getting book deals, talk show deals. You'd be going on goddamn podcasts for the rest of your goddamn life because you would have proven something that had never been proven before. You would be a true pioneer of your science. And it would no longer be a fringe science. You'd be able to admit, yes, oh, I believe that supernatural shit happens. I have always believed. You would be the original hipster of the science world when it comes to all these paranormal things. It's so strange that instead what we choose to do is leak the information slowly, you know? I gotta wait till my NDA's up. I gotta wait till it's safe for me to share these personal stories that I have no actual proof to substantiate for some reason. But you know what? It definitely wasn't a gun, and it definitely wasn't BBs that were killing the small animals at a place where there's barely anything to do and no internet to pass the time. According to you, yourself, good sir.
Oh no.
Yeah, because it's kind of a taboo subject. And honestly, if you had a UFO...
Don't fucking cough over the goddamn guest! That's rude! You don't cough over him. You say, hold on, I'm going to edit this part out. You say what you were going to say again. That's just decorum, okay, good sir? That's just decorum, Mr. Skinwalker Ranch podcast man. All right? You start treating your guests with some respect. What if the Skinwalkers are using guns? I think they do have opposable thumbs, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility. Do they still have the presence of mind to operate the trigger? Is the question that I have. They could tape it to their hand before they change. You know, that might alleviate that, and then it would just be simply like a reflex while they're just spraying Uzis into the air. You know, it could be a situation like that. But we've yet to see that in the wild, so I don't quite know if it's possible yet. You know, so yeah. A life without WoW leads to lying, it appears. Do you lie a lot? I played a lot of WoW, but then Blizzard took Turtle WoW away. And now you boycott it out of solidarity.
UFO land on the ranch.
To me, the only reason that I just don't want to get into retail again is because it's just there's too many systems that are all just really surface level and not very fun in the long term. And the thing that I really liked was raiding. And just raiding and just like spending my day, you know, doing like the farming and like the dailies and stuff. And I enjoyed the group activities and the PvP. And so like I didn't really enjoy when retail just kind of went and did a whole bunch of shit. You know? I like raiding. I like banging my head against a wall for 10 hours straight and just trying to figure out that one trick that's going to get the boss down, you know? Yeah, classic, no. I didn't start liking WoW until the end of Burning Crusade. Right when Wrath of the Lich King came out, that was when I think like my bread and butter was. Because I was a lifelong shaman, enhancement shaman. Go fig, am I right? But I got into it off and on, and then I got out of it, and then I got really into it. And that was what I spent most of my, I think, late teens and 20s playing.
And aliens got out and said, hi, no laws of physics are broken. That's profound, but it's not insane. But to say, hey, here's an animal, it's dead, it doesn't decompose, the internal bacteria isn't eating the stomach lining, external bacteria is...
See, he threw it away. He threw that line away because he was saying it like it was just something that happens every day. But if you missed it, he said that it wasn't very strange for them to believe that an alien ship could come down out of the heavens and for aliens to climb off of it and say hi. Like it was something they saw every goddamn day. But the thing that was weird is all these small animals showing up with fucking pellets in them that are seemingly fresh, even though we have no fucking idea. Are any of you forensic fucking scientists? No. Whatever. Except that we have no idea when it actually died. We have no idea its level of decomposition. And environmental factors notwithstanding. But hey, don't worry, guys. There were all kinds of deciduous trees around. So if the leaves were rotting at the time in fucking July, when leaves would be falling on the ground and rotting, of course, then you know there's some otherworldly shit going on. All right, trust me, I'm a scientist. Okay, do you know what kind of claw that is? That's right, it's not a claw. Trick question. I was against the expansion model in general and wanted them to continue doing content patches and stuff, which is what Turtle WoW did and why I like that. So, yes, Blizzard kind of started that whole thing that I hate about video games, where they want to keep the story going, but you have to pay for it. At some point, Valve, after the FPS craze, I guess, started to die down, like with Counter-Strike being like the one that everyone switched to, Valve had been paying people to make expansions and DLC for things. They'd been paying people to make mods for a couple of years already, but they were actually paying, like, I think Counter-Strike itself was a mod that got turned into its own game, and they hired the people that made the mod to make the game. And same with Team Fortress, same shit. So, like, it feels to me like we were heading in a direction of more freedom and flexibility for the consumer side of things to collaborate with developers themselves. And that all was sort of a free, if anything, free market paid things that consumers would make. And when WoW started putting things like that behind paywalls, I started fucking hating them for it. Because MMOs at the time, like Anarchy Online, and I think Ultima was dying down at the time, but EverQuest 2. What was the other one? Last Archon? No. The one, I think it was a Korean MMO. But, like, they were releasing new content. They had things that they were actively developing the entire time. Instead of having teams moving on to new expansions, they were just concentrating on what they were producing. Yes, Lineage. Thank you. They had the things that basically the precursor to Black Desert Online. But they were, and pretty much any MMO that had housing in it, which is kind of cool. But Archage, the precursor to Archage, the precursor to the other one with pirates, Atlas. But oh man, I lost my train of thought because I was getting excited about MMOs. But they were releasing things all the time. They had the models where they would be making like a new dungeon. Oh, the dungeon is coming out in like a couple of weeks. We're working on it. We're testing it, and like you wouldn't have to pay to, and they would continue the story along, and then they would even have like big campaign like additions. They would just release shit as they had it. They wouldn't wait to like try and bank it all up so they can release it as one bundle and then make you pay for it. And so that shit kind of sucked in terms of just playing video games. And plus, I love user-generated content. Like, one of my favorite games ever was Quake 3, when it was just starting out, you know? Like, it had user-generated skins. You can make your own, like, custom weapons and stuff, and, like, it got wacky, it got zany, but I fucking love that. I'm waxing nostalgic here.
Yeah, because it's kind of a taboo subject. And honestly, if you had a UFO land on the ranch and aliens got out and said, hi, no laws of physics are broken, that's profound, but it's not insane. But to say, hey, here's an animal, it's dead, it doesn't decompose, the internal bacteria isn't eating the stomach lining, external bacteria is repelled, external macro scavengers are ignoring it, that is impossible. What is doing that? It's not impossible to have a...
You're right. That is impossible. Thank you for being honest.
UFO land and aliens get out. It's not impossible that there could be a Bigfoot running around out there. That's not impossible. Might be impossible.
Hey, there you go. I guess Bigfoot is included in the Skinwalker Ranch equation. I did not know that. I didn't think that, because I thought Bigfoot was like primarily a forest thing. But I guess, hey, you know, color me corrected. That is, that's a new one to me. I welcome the new addition to the Skinwalker family. I mean, mummification happens in dry environments. No, this is what I said early on in the stream. I said, I was like, right, I googled what the average temperature was at night at the time that he said he was there, and it was always freezing, and it was always like dry and arid, and I was like, microbes, they need, you know, heat, they need oxygen, and they need wetness in order to thrive, and if that's not an environment that's favorable for them, they're just not going to do it. Like, and then he shows, and like, so the whole time he was talking about how implausible this is, how animals just wouldn't, you know, putrefy, and he kept adding qualifiers to it, and he was like, oh, you know, the internal stuff wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. And then I think he thought in his head, like, oh, but somebody could argue that it was an environmental factor. And then he was like, but neither was the external. And then when he said after that, he was like, oh, but it wasn't the, it wasn't the rotting because we noticed other things rotting around it. We noticed that there were other kills and, there was a predation going on for other things, just not this. He kept adding qualifier after qualifier after qualifier, and it's just completely implausible now. But he's now proven that it was just some person shooting things. With all the evidence he was trying to use to prove that he was right. Which is just, I think, delicious, if you will. Play!
Well, might be strange, but there's no rules to say it can't be. There are rules that say this stuff can't happen, which means we don't know what the real rules are. We have mislabeled what the rules of the universe are. That's what I want to know. What are the actual playbook rules?
It's funny because it was
right. This is like kind of his pitch. That's like he wants you to come to him for the science now, because all the rules of the universe that we had previously believed are no longer valid. They no longer apply to us anymore. So if you want the truth, you've got to come to me. You got to come through me for that science, and you got to kiss the necklace.
It was Pete Kelsey when I was talking to him, and again, he entered the ranch with eyes rolling, thinking this is all gonna be bullshit. And every season, he's now to the point where he was like, it was total like astonishment, then serious inquiry and curiosity, and now he's like, I'm almost pissed because I want to know and I can't stop until I know. Like he's like,
then what's stopping you from recording any of the stories this guy just shared? What is stopping any of them? They have TV equipment on site. They do filming daily. They do at least 6 weeks of it. So there's no chance that they would not, the frequency that things are supposedly happening, there's no chance that their cameras caught fucking nothing. That just cannot, that's impossible. With the amount of recording that was going on this property. And everything he said was like, oh, but, they're never going to add that to the show. Like they just decided that the thing that was the least interesting was what was going to go on air. The things that were not the things that were the news. That's what made it onto television, was the shit that isn't news. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sure. I don't agree with you. I think that you're a dirty liar. But fair enough. No. Fair enough. No, sure. Totally.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this till the day I die. That's a big change for a skeptic, a man of science, to walk into the ranch, and now 6 years later, that's where he's at. Also, there was something I wanted to ask you. Didn't you have something optically you saw, like a bird fly, and it got warped?
Dude, you're conducting the interview. You don't have to ask permission to ask him a fucking question. Just ask the goddamn question. That is infuriating.
Tell us about that story.
Yep. This is one of the shameful things about good storytelling, is sometimes you will put things in a different order than they happened in order if it better tells the story, right? In anything, in a book. I used to do in my journal. I would tell things out of the order they happened because it's a more concise way to do it. And of course, in these docudrama series, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, this is a really good thing to."
Okay. Let's fucking dial it back with the fucking documentary bullshit. The label.
Or they happen because it's a more concise way to do it. And of course, in these docudrama series.
Docudrama. Like, fuck, man. Do you think he takes himself seriously? I mean, it sounds like he does. It sounds like he really thinks that he knows what he's talking about. I don't know that he does. I'm not a biologist, but he's been making a lot of stuff up since we started watching him. So I don't feel like he's taking me very seriously. So why should I take him very seriously? I don't know. Let me know. I feel like, he could potentially have a good head on his shoulders. I just, with a necklace like that, dressing like Indiana fucking Jones, I don't, or dressing like you wish you could be Indiana fucking Jones. I don't know. I think that he probably would have tried to wear his hat if they hadn't made him take it off. So
Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, this
you
is
are
really
not Indiana Jones. He's not Indiana Jones." No, I mean, I even said earlier, I was like, call me Mulder, because I want to believe. I would like to believe, but I'm not taking vacations at Skinwalker Ranch because my wife, like, can't stand the sight of me anymore, and, like, I need to find a place to hole up for however many, I think he said 4 years. Because I'm dissatisfied with my life or whatever, and I'm trying to, like, prove a conspiracy theory. Like, I don't know. I do want to believe. I want to see aliens. I want to see otherworldly beings. That would be really cool. I would love to be a wizard. I would love for magic to be real. But, like, until I know that it's a possibility, like, if I grew up all along thinking that magic was real, like maybe if I'd been indoctrinated Christian, then I might be more inclined to believe stuff like this. But it's so hard to not see any proof and see, like, so many claims, but it's like these people that want to feel special. They want to feel included and valued on things, and, like, you know, maybe they're just not in life, and it makes them believe unbelievable things because they can't cope with it. Reality, I mean. Am I accidentally clicking on the captions?
good thing that happened, but we don't have time to fit it in. Oh, let's put it in next season and just make it seem like it happened this season. So the story I'm going to tell happened. They filmed it. They didn't put it in, and we're going to put it in the next year. Well,
Keep saying that. You only get like 1 or 2 of those, man. Okay? If you keep prefacing every story with, yeah, we filmed it, but they didn't put it in, who's going to believe you? Who's ever going to believe anything you say?
but several people were no longer
You
on the range
silly,
anymore,
silly
and they weren't in
man.
the shots. And so it was like, oh, well, now we can't do it. And I'm like, Brandon, I'm gonna get this information out. And so we've sat on it. They're like, well, maybe they're gonna put it in somehow. Maybe. And finally, last September, I'm like, please, no, it was on the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders. I'm like, Brandon, can I have your permission to do this? And he said, you know what? Yes, let's do this.
Aliens are definitely not real, but they're definitely not here. Yeah. They're somewhere. It would be surprising to me if there was nowhere in the universe where there wasn't also sentient life. It would just be really surprising, because I feel like the likelihood is higher than it isn't. You know, like but I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a cosmologist, I'm not any of these theoretical, you know, I'm not any of these people who have a much more informed view on this. It feels like it would be a surprise if there's not like some kind of aliens out there that aren't also wondering if we exist. It would be really surprising to me. Well, consciousness, I don't necessarily know if that would be like a thing that floats around or anything. Like, I just I don't know enough about it, you know. Yeah, intelligent systems, it's almost too esoteric for me at that point, because I don't know what an intelligent system would be. Like a collective cloud of beings, or like of minds, convergent consciousness, or yeah, I don't know.
Let's get this out. And I'm like, thank you. So here's what happened. Bioindicators. It's kind of a dangerous thing. And some people say, you shouldn't bring animals on that. What if they got hurt? We are animals. We get hurt. Everything on there's animals on the ranch getting hurt. So you can question how you go about it, right? So
what?
I brought on some falcons. My buddy and I brought on a couple peregrine falcons. We're like, let's just fly them around. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to fly them. And we had radio transmitters on them and Marshall 3D GPS transmitters. Now, it's important to note, our government, our military, uses these transmitters on their drones to test them. So if you have an EMP that knocks out a drone falls out of the sky, these transmitters keep working. That's kind of their hallmark. So we went over the triangle.
This sounds like it was a movie? Vampires that are based on science. This sounds very much like something I've read before. If not, definitely should. But I've heard this plot. While momentarily broadcasting across the portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, catch humanity off guard. Yeah, this sounds almost like the And the Theseus sounds... Sending a ship known as the Theseus. The vampires don't make any sense. that makes sense. And then the Rorschach thing makes sense too, but I don't know that I actually have seen it. It's just really indicative of something else, perhaps? Synesthetic.
And Eric and I went up on the hill, and my buddy was down below. We flew the bird through the triangle. Now, the 3D GPS said Eric and I were bouncing up in the air, going hundreds of feet in the air. Like, no, we're not. And bird flies through. When the bird went through, then the radio transmitter flared up, like, did a big old radio flare as the bird flew through the triangle. And then on the ground, my buddy was picking the bird up, and again, the transmitter was saying it was like Spock in fast motion, like, he wasn't. He was just picking up the bird, putting the jesses on. We did the experiment again. The same thing, the exact same thing happened. We filmed it, we documented it. We're like, well, let's go to the East Field. So we all got in, we all drove to the East Field, open space. That's cool. Get the Falcon flying up. It's doing good, doing great. It's going about 800 feet up, and the GPS. You got a 3D. You picture Google Earth with a 3D blip going through real time. So we're watching this, and we're like, okay, let's bring her down. So we go, we call her down, and she starts to come down towards the ground. And right as she gets with the lures out there, I land on the lure. I get a big meal, and all of a sudden she freaks out, and she flutters and goes around, comes back around, and she keeps freaking out. Something near the ground was repulsing her from landing, and so finally she got so spooked, she starts going up, skying out, and she.
So, I mean, it sounds to me like there's just some electromagnetical disturbance or something that's fucking with the bird's ability to use its little internal gyroscope. I mean, there's shit like that all over the place, especially like in the near Las Vegas. There's that one that like kills birds because it's like so fucking bright. It's like a valley of mirrors essentially. And then like there's other places. There's like that the one that's that people think controls the weather, the NOAA facility, I think, where it emits a sound that attracts birds, but they die if they get too close to like some of the facility's thing. Like it's like a shock fence or something like that. And then there's another place where like a pulse can like kill birds out of the sky. Like it's all these, I don't know, fucking shit filling the air. I am obviously, I'm not saying very scientific things, but I'm not a professional in that sector, so I don't know. I know the concepts that I'm trying to communicate, but I don't know the terms for them. So, yes, Harp, thank you. But yeah, there's shit like that exists. It does not control the weather. You're talking about cloud seeding. That's not a thing. Like that's it cannot control the weather. This is not that one movie with Two-Face in it. Okay, it's just we're not there yet. That'd be cool. But no, that's not that's not how that works.
700 feet, about 800 feet, all of a sudden the GPS starts to miss blips. It's like blip, 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 nothing, blip, 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 nothing, blip, nothing, blip.
But like it atmospheric disturbance, like static electricity buildup in the air or electromagnetic disturbance or interference could make a GPS go crazy. Like even if there's just a strong enough magnet nearby, like there could be something under the ground, like a nickel deposit or something that's been like, I don't know, rubbed the wrong way. And become or ferrite or some whatever like hypermagnetic, base metal could potentially disrupt the electromagnetic field that the core puts out. That could be a thing, and which I think is probably what's happening when the internal shit gets all fucked up in a bird and cause it to slam into a mirror, like out in the whatever the desert is. The Las Vegas desert, where Donald Trump keeps thinking that the turbines are killing birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? That's probably one of my favorite Trump quotes is, you want to see a bird graveyard? Go to a windmill or go to a wind farm. Yeah, it could also just be a bird being a bird and not wanting to land or seeing a snake or something. Yeah, like there's just so many. It's like, it just makes me so, makes me feel like I'm insane. Like, am I like just hyper aware? Like I don't think that I'm on a different tier of humanity than this guy, but I guess A, I'm not grifting, but also B, like you can't just think of the next plausible thing. You can't just be like, oh, maybe something spooked the bird. Hey, Joey, maybe something spooked the bird. Did you throw like a piece of meat down there somewhere? Did you use a taser on it? Hey, Joey! Like, it's insane. And then, like, thinking that, oh, well, fucking TLC is covering this shit up. You know, we filmed it, but it didn't make it into the episode. Is just further insane. You don't have to go that crazy when you're building a narrative. Like, it's not sensationalism. I guess this is why they're not writers. But, like, building a narrative means, you know, taking something mundane and making it extraordinary. Like, you build that up over time, or you attack it and you keep attacking it with roller coaster of highs and lows. Either way, you gotta be more creative than this. What you're doing is tropes. All right? You can't build a narrative on just tropes. Oh, it was weird. The GPS was going crazy. Oh, all these animals are dying and not decomposing. Oh, it's like crazy UFO activity. You know, and like people, we could see a UFO and it'd be totally normal. Oh, we see that shit every day. Oh, portals opening up. Ha ha. People from the fourth dimension. Ha ha.
And just a little over 1,000 feet, I think probably like 1,100 feet. We're all film crew's filming, we're filming with our phones, and all of a sudden, we're like, where'd you go? I look down on the GPS, and I'm like,
then where's your video? You could have sent the video to this guy who's hosting the podcast, and then you could just be narrating the video while we are watching it. But you know why? You know why you didn't do that? You know why you didn't do that, you little baby man? Little baby man? Huh? Little boy, you sweet little boy, huh? You know why you didn't do that? Huh? You little lying piece of shit? It's because you don't have it. You don't have the video. You're a scammer. A scammer, my baby boy man. Or he's lonely. He could be lonely. He could just be very lonely. You know? I was on a ranch for 4 years and now my wife won't talk to me anymore.
like, what? My phone died.
So now I wear this necklace.
Was filming with my phone, and my phone stops filming, and so we go, and we're like, where'd the bird go? We're all, and this one was my buddy's.
That doesn't mean that it was fried and that the video's gone or irretrievable, which you should know as a scientist and just an all-round smart man.
Okay. So he started freaking out. He's like, oh, my bird's gone. I shouldn't have come on the bridge. And then all of a sudden, the radio transmitter starts working again, and the bird is now over the triangle. And we can see her. We're like, oh, she instantly appeared over the triangle. Let's start heading over there. Then the GPS starts picking up again, and it is mirroring the motion of the bird, but in the wrong place, about a quarter of a mile off. And when we get back and we look at the 3D GPS route, it shows that the bird went through the mesa.
I have a feeling that if there's any amount of truth to this, that it was just like they put a tracker on a bird or some shit, and like they saw what they later embellished into this story. And that it's just like, oh, maybe there's some atmospheric disturbance, and like the GPS went crazy, and they were like, whoa, this is supernatural. I don't know. If they're... It doesn't sound like he's promoting a show that is on the air. So maybe he's reflecting on a show that was on the air, but this would be like sort of a cross promotion. Like you'd be trying to promote the show by sensationalizing stuff they thought was too sensational for making it onto the show for some stupid reason. So like you're saying like the BTS stuff that got cut out, like, you know, oh, like there was a floating like fucking orb and it farted on us and it was like a lavender cloud and it smelled like daisies, but they didn't make it. Didn't make it into the show. Those are like the juicy moments that you would hear, and you're like, oh wow, like, cool. Maybe I should tune in to see what made it in the show. It's got to be that much better, right? But no, the answer is no. The answer is actually the opposite. For again, no plausible reason. You could have just posted the evidence. You could have posted this video. You could have found some way to retrieve it. You could have found some way to, I don't know, fucking use one of the 30 goddamn thousand cameras that you probably had hooked up every single goddamn inch of that place to record something. But no. That's okay. The ghosts are finicky when there are people around, okay? You're probably never going to see one because they hide.
Which is impossible.
And that's
I brought this
science.
Up. I haven't really addressed this, but I brought this up since. I'm like,
bitch.
In later seasons, there's a time at night where you saw a white light go into the mesa, and a time from Brandon's helicopter where you see around sunset a white orb come out of the mesa. Those are the same spots that the bird went through, according to the 3D GPS. And I think that's pretty big. The bird is fine, happy. It's flown for many seasons since. had no ill effects, but the evidence suggests that the bird went through the mesa, which should be impossible.
What evidence? Am I holding it in my fucking hand? Where is it? I don't think that he's prepared to offer any. Is a hunch I'm willing to venture.
Damn.
Big whopping story.
Yeah. No, it's, you know.
Oh yeah, big whopping story that I can't prove in any way, shape, or form. Good content for a podcast, though.
It's hard to put together how to respond to the collection of phenomena that you've experienced, and you're the one experiencing it. Well, let's do this, because I wanted to ask you a couple things before we wrap. And I asked this kind of everybody on the ranch, and from your time in 2000, because you were there earlier than a lot of before the show.
Yeah.
So in your time from 2016 to 2025, how has your perception or understanding or lack of understanding of the phenomena, how has that evolved and changed?
I think I went in with a very open mind. I'm like, just teach me whatever you have to teach me. I want to understand. I want to know what the rules are. And so how my perspective has changed. I think this is doctrine according to Ben. It seems like during the Bigelow era, it seems like there was friction. We don't know all that happened during that era. Not a lot got documented that has been shared. But it seems that same friction was there when the ranch was repurchased. But it seems like now the phenomenon has taken on a trickster element, kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow, coyote in Native American mythology. Like, hey, I'm going to teach you. I might jab a little once in a while, and I'm going to stay one step ahead of you. I'm having fun with you, but I'm also teaching you. You're keeping at this. Okay, you're paying attention. All right, I'm going to show you things. Let's see if you idiots can figure it out. I don't like the...
So the Skinwalker Ranch is somehow Captain Jack Sparrow.
the fact that it seems to have a geographic boundary. The whole Uinta Basin is nuts. You go there, you can feel it, and stuff happens, but it's almost like it all falls down, and the ranch is the epicenter of it.
Yeah, gosh, it's almost like maybe there's some environmental bullshit happening, maybe some electromagnetic phenomenon, maybe some, like, I don't know, maybe there's like a bunch of different shit that is happening around there that just happens to be a conflux of events because of the geographical makeup of the area, because of the way the air flows through it, because of the way that sound echoes off of sheer cliff walls. There could be 1,000 billion things that, like, it could be. It ain't gonna be something supernatural right off the bat. You got to prove that. At least channels like the Y-Files present the stuff with some decent narrative flair and then debunk the stuff they just said. I often hear them claiming things and then presenting it like, is that fact or fiction? Who knows? Ooh. I hate that shit, man. What is that? There's that compilation of the guy who used to be in Star Trek, who was like Belief... Was it Belief or Fact or Fiction or something like that? I thought that was really funny. There's like a compilation of him saying like all the things like is it a mystery? And that like but it's just like a whole compilation of that. It's really funny. Channels like these guys are the worst because they present no alternative theories and just feel like some kid's caught up in something. But and the thing that disturbs me about this is that this man is he's parading himself around as some authority on something that is, for the most part, out of the social zeitgeist. So what is he getting out of this? Like, what pittance can you be earning from these limited experiences where maybe you're getting paid, maybe you're not? But like, how are you benefiting science in any way? Like, it seems like you love bones, man. It seems like you love dead animals, I guess? Could you have been the one shooting the pellets at the animals and then sawing them in half to take a look? Sounds like someone who is obsessed with carcasses would do, but I don't know. You know, like, I don't understand what we're gonna learn that we haven't already failed to learn about the Skinwalker Ranch. And were people walking in with a skeptical mind, maybe we would have been able to conduct some real science that might have explained some of the phenomenon that are happening. But in that time that we've been trying to validate confirmation bias, we've now almost ruined the entire site for any kind of real good faith empirical research. And unfortunately, that's just where we're going to leave Skinwalker Ranch. Unless we decide to see the account of the technologist? You mean the fucking roadie? Or the security guard? Another not a scientist. Or the fucking archaeologist? Now these are all fucking... They're not... I don't... I just have a hard time rationalizing what we could learn from... Skippy, why the fuck are you talking about crypto? I have a hard time imagining what we can learn further from Skinwalker Ranch. But apparently, this is as far back as 2 months ago that he was interviewing people who I guess worked at the fucking facility. Dear God. So, I mean, if you guys have any interest in watching those particular ones, that's fine. But we are definitely done with sausage and steaks. Oh God, we're definitely done with that. I've heard disclosure is here for a decade. Yeah, no shit, dude. It ain't never gonna happen. Like, there's the government isn't just gonna come out and say. I mean, unless we're contacted by aliens, I don't think the government's just gonna come out and say like, yeah, we found aliens once, but we kind of bungled that, so they're probably not gonna come back. I'm so sorry, aliens. Come on, please. Ah. Anywho, thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for sticking around. I'm gonna skit-daddle on out of here. Got a little bit of housework to do, and then I get to cook me some delicious din-dins. I'm making chicken teriyaki tonight. I made the teriyaki sauce from Scrickety-Scrick-Scratch-Scratch, and add a little bit of pineapple juice to it, just to make it some extra delicious. And then I bathed and simmered some chicken for a while and coated it in that sauce. It was delicious. Gonna have that over some brown rice to keep them bowels moving. That's right, fiber's really important. So I know that like people don't understand until they're in their like 30s and 40s how important fiber is, but fiber's really fucking important. Fiber's important for anyone who drinks, anyone who smokes cigarettes, anyone who does like really bad stuff for your health. Just start taking fiber now. You will fucking thank me when you hit 40. You will fucking thank me. I swear to God, just one fiber supplement. You can have them in gummies. Just eat a gummy a day. Eat a gummy a day. It doesn't require anything more than that. One gummy of fiber a day. And when you hit your 40s and you're not getting colon cancer, you will fucking thank me. When you're not having painful shits, you will fucking thank me. When you're like hungover and when you're not like not feeling the symptoms of being hungover because you're fucking healthier because you're eating a whole shit load of fiber, you'll fucking thank me. No, yeah, that's why I eat like plenty of brown rice and beans and shit like that. Dude, like I'm attacking my body with health. Okay? I am attacking my body with health. The inside. Not necessarily the outside. And with that, it is time to end the stream. I bid thee adieu. Have a good day, guys. Chicken legs and livers. Fuck yeah! And pork ribs. God damn, man, you're making me hungry.